Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
As the agent for Peyton Ansley, John Milton, you are indicating to me that you're quite familiar with Peyton Ansley, John Milton, and that's basically you. Is that correct?
I am the agent authorized to represent Peyton Ansley, John Milton, as written in all capital letters.
All right, and you understand for my purposes, that language doesn't make any sense. So
No, I do not.
I understand. Okay, well, I'm telling you that. And so I am, until you disabuse me of the motion, or the notion, I am inclined to believe that you are both the agent and the person. So, and it's
I'm not a person, I am one of the people, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, good morning, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I think I got that right, Public Opinion. I'm the Recovery Addict. Good morning. Oh, it's good here. It's good to be here. Let's see, Reverend Beasley says, I can recite every word at the precise moment. Recovery Addict, it's time for a new intro. Well, I could have done this one.
Your son just smeared feces all over my bathroom.
Yeah, we've got other court sounds we could play instead of those ones, but it's rough to start with the your son one first thing in the morning. So, good morning though. Good morning. Oh my goodness, it's a wonderful day. I got loads of sleep. Anniversary dinner was delicious. We went to Red Lobster. They have a special on Mondays, all you can eat shrimp. And my wife found it on the menu and pointed it out, and instantly I knew that was what I needed. And so I had all you can eat shrimp, and it was they call it like Walt's favorite, which is a butterfly shrimp breaded tail on. Oh, so good. It was delicious. And it was fun when we ran into a couple friends there. Some good friends of ours showed up at the same time. So that was really neat. Let's see. Where are we at? We're right
Is
here.
that correct?
Boom. Ashley, what is it just loud in my ears, or is this? Is that better? Oh man, that was just so loud. Okay. Somehow I turned that knob up a little too loud. All right. Let's see. Is your anniversary ever on Mother's Day? What do you guys do when that happens? Anniversary is on the 13th. So if Mother's Day falls on the 13th,
Because he's the guy.
then it would be. I don't know that it's ever been on the same day. Hey Siri, when's the last time Mother's Day fell on May 13th?
Okay, I found this on the web for when's the last time Mother's Day fell on May 13. Check it out.
Let's see, it fell on May 13th. Fourteen times in 1917, 1923, 1928, 1934, 1945, 1951, 1956, 1962, 1973, 1979, 1984, 1990, 2001. So yes, the first year we were married, and 2007. So yes, it does about every 6 years or so. Give or take. New Daybell thumbnail, please. Okay, we will do that. We will do a new Daybell thumbnail. Boom, boom. I'll grab that one. Good morning, by the way. Good morning. Ashley, first in chat this morning. It's been a while, but you're back. You're back. Thank you very much for being first in chat. We're going to send it to you with internet ownership. That's our way of thanking you. Or punishing you, depending on how you view it. So congratulations, Ashley. We feel confident that you're going to be able to guide us through the remnant of the solar storms that are affecting electronics worldwide. You know what? I actually ran into this. Farmers, like the cost of food might go up because of the solar storm we just had. You're like, what? Yeah. The tractors, because this is the time of year when they're planting, for farmers who were planting their fields during the solar storm, experienced inconsistencies in their GPS devices that control and guide their tractors. And for precision farming, where literally they use lasers to weed between the seeds are off. The spacement's wrong because the GPS was skipping. And so you have fields where they're not going to be able to weed with the lasers that they normally use, which is the coolest thing you've ever seen. If you've never seen lasers weed a field before, you need to Google that as soon as the show's over today. But it's basically a tractor with like Star Wars attached to the back, and it's like, and the weeds are just like zip, 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 and it's really cool. Anyway, it's a real thing. I'm not pulling your leg here, but it was so bad that manufacturers of tractors were actually calling farmers and saying, stop planting, wait a couple days. I know this is the time you're supposed to plant, but don't, because it could really mess up your yield. So anyway, yes, I need a laser weeder for my yard as well, although it would probably just be roasting everything, because I think my entire lawn, I'm not sure I have any grass. I think it's just weeds. Anyway, good stuff. I was spark driving last week and was having trouble with the app. Might the solar storms have anything to do with that? Pretty much anything that happened from early Friday through Sunday night maybe is when the storm happened. And the sunspot on the sun that shot this huge load of electronic garbledy-goop, whatever, at the earth 17 times. It was a solar flare 17 times the size of Earth, like 17 Earths big. I guess that's a measurement. You measure things in Earth size on the sun, but that sunspot has like rotated away, and it takes, I don't know, what is it, 25, 30 days? I forget. No one reminded me how long it takes for the sun to rotate. But in 25 or 30 days, that spot is going to rotate back into view, and if it's still active, we could get it again. We could have Northern Lights times 2 happening down in Florida again when that comes around again. And of course, that'll cause problems with the internet and everything else. So farm tech is so cool. I could watch farm tech videos all day long. That was loud. It's birthday time. It was Friday. So yeah, that's what it was. Let's see. Jerry Sides, John, Cade, 16th birthday, Logan, 18th birthday, Amy, and Candy are all celebrating a special day. So we've got Jerry, John, Cade, Logan, Amy, and Candy. All right. Can we do this in one verse, guys? Do you think you can do one verse? Jerry, I can't even do it once. Jerry, John, Cade, Logan, Amy, and Candy. Yeah, it's going to be a one verser. All right, it is time to sing. Are you here to sing with me, little boy? No? Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, it's time to sing, so get your vocal cords warmed up with me. Ready? La, 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 la. There we go. All right, we have sun rotates every 25 days. Good to know. Okay, it's time to sing. Blend your voices, raise them with your neighbor. Deep breath, project to the back of the room. Here we go. Dancers ready? Go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jerry, John, Cade, Logan, Amy, and Candy. Happy birthday to you. Wow. Sorry, dancers, I didn't give you time to line up, but you really just made the assembly thing look like it was part of the routine. It was great. It was great. And you pulled a hammy, says Danny. Happy birthday to Jerry, John, Cade, Logan, Amy, and Candy. Thank you very much for sharing your birthday with us. I realize there are a million places you could be, probably a million or more people who would want to celebrate with you, but you've chosen to be here with us. That's not lost on me. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Help yourself to the free pancakes at Denny's. Wonderful. Have a great day. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope you do something really fun, and send me a picture on the burner phone of you celebrating. That would be great. Happy birthday to all who are celebrating. All right, we are back. We're back ready for court this morning. Sorry, that sort of ended abruptly, and I stopped it, so I can't even fade it back up anymore. Thank you for the birthday shout out for my son, Cade. Cade, have a happy birthday, Ireland's princess. Have a happy birthday. And what was it? Was it it's the 16th. I don't know, Kate, I don't know where you live, what part of the world or the country that you live in. But generally 16th birthday for a lot of people is right around the time where driving privileges sort of kick in. Be good to your mom. Be good to your mom. Pay attention. Drive nicely. Easy up on the skinny pedal, okay? And nice and slow. Be considerate. And always be anticipating that, but pretty much everyone else on the road who's driving is a worse driver than you. So just expect them to do crazy stuff, and you should be good. So enjoy. Happy birthday.
Call from Angela.
Angela, good morning. You sound clear. No solar storm breaking up our conversation this morning. How are you? How are you doing?
Yeah. And finally, it's 21 Celsius degrees here in Sweden, which means hot. So, yay, summer is here.
Yay, we like summer. I'm a big fan of summer.
Yeah.
How was the Euro Festival? Eurovision.
Well, it was great.
You're breaking up.
It was great.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, it was great. Actually, it was really secured. You probably read on the news that how a lot of police from 3 different countries were securing the festivities, and even military. Me, as a true crime fan, it was great, to be honest.
Able to watch everything. And you got to see behind the scenes a little bit too. So.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was hanging out with police officers, and I befriended a police dog, and it was great because I was a lot backstage, not in the main arena where the contest was, but in the village where you are if you're not in the arena, where concerts are, where everything is free. You do not need tickets.
All right.
So yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So So I am actually calling regarding the Karen Reed case.
Oh, you want to talk about like business, behind. Like official stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
Yeah. Well, as I said first when you covered this, I think you read like a court order or something, a decision. I followed this case way before Turtle Boy got involved and everyone else, to be honest, because the podcast I was following was covering the other case out of Massachusetts that the police ruled out as unaliving, but actually it was murder.
This was another conspiracy case, right? This was another cover-up. Where I think it was a police officer involved in that one, right? Yeah.
So as soon as the Karen Reed case happened, they picked it up as like immediately.
Yeah.
So I was following there, and I know, to be honest, right from the jump, something smelled very badly, because it was like, there is just physically impossible for it would be if let's say that those injuries on John Keith happened from being hit by a car, there will be more damage on the car than just a taillight and a few scraps. Yeah.
Otherwise, this is the best commercial for Lexus ever. It's not that. It's not that. Yeah, there's a lot to go into. I have not gone into that other case, but basically the idea is that that was a conspiracy, and there seems to be a lot of evidence that there was a lot of people involved in the cover-up in Canton.
Yeah.
With a police officer.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, okay, so that was a one-off, but that couldn't happen here. It would never happen twice to two police officers, right? I'd say the odds of it happening are higher.
Yeah, but someone did say that when I loved to follow crime shows. So on someone else's saying on Twitter, I think, or X, whatever, that regarding police corruption and so on and so forth, if you look up the crime shows, where are the most crime shows regarding police corruption coming from? Massachusetts. That's actually a true fact.
There you go.
I looked it up.
Tammy says, "Remind me never to go to Canton." So, well, Angela, we're gonna keep going with the case and see. We've got
and I don't know if I can call you tomorrow because kind of busy day. But just a quick warning: I need to have that beep sound handy when you enter day 9.
Entering day 9. We're doing day 8. Is there a lot? Is it one
Yeah,
word?
I know, but it's a short day.
Is it the one word?
Yeah, it's a one word.
Is it?
And
Is it where they
do
get?
not Google up. Google it.
Yeah. Don't Google. Google
it.
Okay. I'm gonna try. I have not heard the clip, but I know Twitter exploded. Okay, when that happens, Twitter just exploded, and I've got some good mods that are helping me, and maybe I'll have the beep ready to beep out the word.
I was watching day 8 on like 1.25 speed because I was like multitasking. Apparently, day 8 was also filled with a few big words, so I missed them. So just so you know.
Well, thanks. It's day 8 now, so we'll give it a try. Thank you very much, Angela. Good to hear from you.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Good to hear from you.
All right.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. I love Angela. She's great. Let's see. We are going to kick off day 8 because that's where we are. Day 9. Let me tell you this. Day 9. There's a word used in day 9 that is has changed. Like its meaning has changed over the years, and I know what the word is because everybody warned me about it. Like everybody, I was getting text messages on the burner phone. Just heads up, on day 9, there's somebody says this word in court, and Twitter went on fire. Don't Google it, please. Don't Google it. Let me just say, I think it's a Japanese word that used to mean, well, it does mean one thing, which is completely harmless, but it's been incorporated into, let's say, the seedier side of adult films, and it's in there. So this has all been told to me via text message, via all sorts of people warning me about this word. So we're going to try to cut that word out, just because I don't want anybody just to Google it saying that they said what, because that's where I was. I'm like, what? I've no idea. But anyway, so I've got the warning. Tomorrow we're going to try to edit it out. We'll probably miss it, but we'll try. So anyway, Ellie Veldman, happy birthday to the birthday peeps. Thank you very much, Ellie. 13 months as well. It's like a birthday for you as well. Misty Harris, member for 4 months, says thanks to all the great mods. They are amazing, Misty. Thank you very much for recognizing them. TC also says RA crew from Sydney, Australia. Hope all are well. TC, you know what? I've been watching YouTube videos of people diving on the reefs and picking up those, like, what are they sea urchins? With little forks, those little spiny dudes. I guess they're like a delicacy, but they've become like they're like overtaking the reefs, and they have to harvest a ton of them. I'm hooked on this one diver who dives down there, and like in one breath, he got like 99 of them in a bag, and they just load them up and fill up the boat full, and I guess people eat them or something. But anyway, not sure if that's neither here nor there, but I think it's down somewhere by Australia. All right. Let's see. Now you have my attention. I want to Google it. Don't Google it. Don't Google it. We're probably not going to edit it out. It's not one of those words. Let's put it this way. I don't think YouTube even knows what the word is. Like YouTube, the software. It's not going to be like, oh, flag that word. No, it's obscure. It's out there, and most people, I think, will just go right over the top and just be like, I didn't hear what they said there, and not know. Oh, let's see. Runkle explained it so no one would have to Google. I might ask Ian if I could use a little clip of his explanation. I'm not sure if sometimes his explanations go a little too far for me even. Let's see. All right. Family-friendly explanation in previous comment. It was a word that was going around college campuses in 2005 as a way to get people to Google what it was and traumatize them, like a Rickroll almost, but with corn. Okay, so that's basically, yeah, Googling it will most likely infect your brain with things you don't want to see. And so we're just going to try to skip it. All right. With that preface, at least we're safe for today. Today's a short day. It's a short day. It's a short day for us. It's a short day for the people who are watching it live. So we're on the same schedule right now of having a short day, the same time as live. So we are still just a couple days behind. Over time, we're probably going to get a little bit closer to live, probably towards the end, just so the verdict doesn't come in with us like half a week behind. So. All right, here we go. Let's get this going here. We need our audio. We have audio. Oh, we need the counter. Let's bring the counter in. We have the fan. That's the wrong thing. Let's try this one. There we go. There's our seismograph. I think it's the mispronunciation of the trooper's name. Jen, I think that's one we're talking about. I don't know as a trooper. I just know it's one of the people in the case. All right. Hear ye, hear ye.
All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Cannoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court, in and for the County of Norfolk. Draw a name, give your attendance, you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open. You may be seated.
22-117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Can I have counsel identify themselves for the record?
Alex to the Commonwealth. Good morning, Your Honor.
Three hear ye's this morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson for Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Elizabeth Little, also on behalf of Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Ms. Little.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Yannetti for Karen Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Yannetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. I have to ask you those same three questions. Was everyone able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday?
Yes.
Everyone said yes or not affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case?
Yes.
Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, even inadvertently, since we met yesterday? No. Okay, so I am going to see counsel at sidebar for just a moment. Most people said no. I will see the juror who raised her hand in just a moment.
Whoa. They need to kick out the rest of the jury and keep the one juror there. One juror had to Google it. No, I don't know what she did. I'm not sure if she Googled it. Oh, man, you got your drink in there? Do you see that? The guy's got his soft drink. He's got his, what is it, Dr. Pepper he brought in. I thought it was court's always been like a no drinks, no beverages. Other than the sidebar, of course. Okay, so we have a, she Googled the word. She Googled the word. She's in trouble now. I will use the newest version. While we take this little break, I'll use the newest version of the thumbnail as my kid falls down the stairs. So, no, I think he just skipped down. Let's see. There's the newest one. We have some juror drama this morning. Why are we on life support? Well, I don't know why, honestly. Lots of people in court. These are new faces. Are these Alberts? These are new faces in court. The life support's to tell us that we're not dead yet, meaning our audio is still live. Loving the Chad Daybell thumbnail. I'm going to download that now and get that for the... Okay. Let's see. Current page, compress, download. There we go. I want to see the media. Day 23 for Daybell. Thank you. I was about to ask. Okay, we're going to go to top mark.
So I'm satisfied that the jurors are fine and we are set to begin. So, Mr. Lally, your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor, the Commonwealth will call Mr. Christopher Albert to the stand.
Christopher Albert is up. That's witness number 23.
Watch your step up.
I'm going to ask if you remain standing, face the clerk, sworn in by raising your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear the evidence given to the court and jury in the case now and here is for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Anytime you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
It's Christopher Albert, A-L-B-E-R-T.
And where do you live, sir?
I live at 22 Maple Street, Mass.
Sorry.
And how long have you lived there?
Almost 2 years. Sorry, go ahead.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
Since 1974.
And so pretty much your whole life?
Pretty much since I was 4.
So nearly 50 years.
Prior to living in Maple, where did you live in Canton before that?
7 Meadows Ave in Canton.
And how long did you live at 7 Meadows?
From 2001 to 2021, about 20 years.
Didn't John live at 1 Meadows?
Who, if anyone, do you live with now?
I live with my wife, Julie, my oldest son, who just came home from the Navy, my middle son, Colin, and my youngest son, Dylan.
And how long have you and your wife, Julie, been married?
Roughly, gosh, you're going to kill me. 21 years, around 21 years.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
You mentioned you and your wife, Julie, you have 3 sons?
Yep.
And how old are they?
My oldest is 25, my middle is 20, and my youngest is 16.
Now, do you work, sir?
Yes, I do.
What do you do for work?
I'm self-employed. I own a small pizza shop.
What's the name of the pizza?
It's called D&E Pizza.
And how long have you owned that?
25 years this March.
And prior to that, did you work sort of in the same industry?
Same industry pretty much my whole life.
And does your wife work?
She does not.
Does she help out with the D&E Pizza shop?
She does some of this behind-the-scenes stuff, yes.
So, yes, she does work?
Now, when you lived on Meadows Avenue, did you have occasion to become familiar with someone named John Oakley?
Yes, I did.
And how is it that you knew John?
So he bought the 1 Meadows Ave, the top house, I don't know exactly, maybe like 2017. So he became my neighbor, and I guess just from me driving by his house and coming home, I saw him, would wave to him and stuff, and that's how I initially became to know who John was.
And you mentioned he bought the house at sort of the top of the street, is that correct?
Yeah, it's the very, if you're coming off Pleasant, you take a right down Meadows, it's the first on the right.
And then on Meadows Ave, about how many houses are on Meadows?
Well, between us or all, on the whole street, you mean?
First down the whole street and then between.
Yeah, so roughly on that whole street, I would say there's like close to 30 houses from top to bottom on both sides.
And then how about in between 1 and 7?
So there's two. There's two houses between mine and John's.
And your houses, both odd numbers, are they on the same side?
Same side, yeah.
Now, you said that that's how you initially came to know John O'Keefe. How did your relationship sort of go on from there?
So over the years, like, he was friendly with some other folks that I was friends with. So we maybe be out occasionally and bump into him, but he would also come to my pizza shop a lot. He would take his nephew, Patrick, in my pizza shop a lot. So it was not uncommon for him to stop by a couple days a week. Usually just grab a slice.
Now, you grew up in Canton, correct?
Yes,
And do you have any siblings?
I do. I have 6.
And what are the names of your 6 siblings?
So my oldest is my older brother, Brian. I have a sister, Kathleen. I have she's older than me. And then I'm next in line. And then I have a brother, Kevin. Then a brother, Keith, Brendan, and Timmy. 7 of us.
Where is it that you sort of fit in that sort of...
I'm the third oldest.
Thanks for listening to your question.
Now, your older brother, Brian, what does he do for work?
He's a Boston police officer, or he was. He's recently retired.
And your brother, Kevin, what does he do?
He's a Canton police officer.
And John O'Keefe, were you familiar with what he did for work?
Yes, yeah, I knew he was a Boston police officer as well.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that day?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall what day of the week that was?
It was a Friday, I believe.
And were you working at the D&E Pizza Shop on that day?
I was.
And at some point in time in the afternoon, who, if anyone of note, sort of came into D&E?
John came in that day with his nephew, Patrick.
And do you recall what did they get that day?
I think they just got 2 slices of pizza, if I recall correctly.
And what, if any, conversation did you have with Mr. O'Keefe as far as plans for later in the evening?
So he asked me if I had any plans that night, and I said, unfortunately, it's Friday, and I'm working pretty much till close. And I said, but it's my nephew's birthday, and I know a bunch of people are heading out, and I was planning on meeting up with them later when I got out of work. So I think I said to him, I said to him, I'll shoot you a text later if you're around. Maybe we can hook up.
So in that sense, sort of, how would you describe your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe?
Oh, it was a good relationship, yeah.
Would you consider yourself friends?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, pushing forward on January 28th, about what time was it, if you know, that you sort of closed up shop that night?
So the shop stays open until 10. I know that I left sometime a little bit before 10. I had my wife drop me off some clothes. It was like a ritual. She would, because those nights are tough for me to get out early and go home. So she dropped me off some clothes, and I remember just changing quick, washing up a little bit, and then leaving. So I think I left before the store actually closed a few minutes.
Now, during the time or prior to you leaving the pizza shop, what, if any, conversation via text did you have with Mr. O'Keefe?
He asked where I was. I said I was still working, and he said something like, why don't you talk to the boss, see if you can get out of there? And I just said, I'm married to this place, it's tough. I'll text you when I leave. And then I shot him a text, I think, when I got down to Waterfall, and I said, where are you? And go ahead. Sorry.
And where did he say that he was?
He was at CF McCarthy's.
Are you familiar with both of those establishments as far as CF McCarthy's and Waterfall?
Yes, I am.
And with regard to your pizza shop, where is CF McCarthy's in relation to that, and where is Waterfall in relation to that?
So if I was sitting at my front door looking out, CF McCarthy's would be to my right, and Waterfall would be down the street, diagonal, maybe like 200 yards on the opposite side of the street.
So both sort of walking distance from where you work?
Yeah.
Now, your home on Maple, where is that in relation to those businesses on Washington Street, including your own?
So Maple Street is like, probably from my pizza shop is maybe like a 5-minute walk. You know, it's not far. and a little closer to Waterfall. So maybe it's like a 7-minute walk from D&E and like a 5-minute walk from Waterfall.
And are there any sort of, in the area where you live, is there any sort of like town buildings or anything like that?
Yeah, so I kind of live behind the library. Like you take a left on Maple and the library is like 2 buildings after me on the left-hand side. And then the town hall is a little further down on the right.
And the library that's around where you live, is that the only public library in?
That's the, besides what's inside schools, yeah, that's the only public library.
And so, again, I'm sorry, but what time is it that you leave D&E to go to Waterfall?
Just before 10, maybe like 9:50-ish.
And as far as meeting up with people, who is it that directs you to go to Waterfall specifically?
I think my wife said, "Are you coming down? Are you there?" She was down there, so I had a conversation with her, and I think that's how I headed down there.
You went there to meet your wife, correct?
Yeah, she was down there.
And you've been to the waterfall before?
Yes.
And so when you walk into the waterfall, where did you go as far as, who, if anyone, did you recognize when you came?
So it's pretty much when you walk in, it's just kind of like open, and my wife was there, Matt was there, Matt McCabe was there, Jen McCabe was there. My sister-in-law, Nicole, was there. My niece, Caitlin, was there. I think when I first walked in, that's who was there.
And you mentioned Jennifer and Matthew McCabe, is that right?
Yeah.
And how do you know them?
Well, I grew up with, I didn't grow up with Jen. She's younger than me, but she's lived in Canton for a long time. My brother Brian is married to her sister, Nicole. So I've known her pretty much my whole life.
And you were testifying earlier about some of the people that you and Mr. O'Keefe sort of knew in common. Would Mrs. McCabe be one of those people?
Yes, yeah.
And when you walk in, relative to the establishment, whereabouts were those people situated?
So they were on like a table that was close to the bar. It's like set up. They have like 3 tables in a row, and I think we were maybe either in the middle or the next table to the bar.
So with those 3 sort of tables together, if you know, about how long a table are we talking about?
I would say they're about a 6-foot table.
And was this a low top, high top, or something?
It's like a high top.
And located close to the bar, is that correct?
Yes.
What, if anything, do you recall from that evening as far as entertainment within the waterfall?
There was a live band that was playing to the side.
About how close to your table was the live band?
Oh, within like 6 or 7 feet, probably.
Fair to say, pretty loud in there?
Pretty loud, yeah.
And when you walk in, where do you go in reference to sort of the other people at the table?
I go right over to the table, and I think I walked right over, said hello to them, sat down.
And what, if anything, did you order when you got there?
I ordered a beer.
And did you eat while you were there as well?
I did, yeah. I was starving. I didn't eat all day, so I ordered some food, appetizers.
He works in a pizza joint. I didn't eat all day.
And throughout the course of the evening, what is it? You're at a bar, so you're drinking, correct?
Sure.
And what were you drinking?
Miller Lite.
Is that sort of normally what you would drink when you go out?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that initially when you get there, it's yourself, your brother Brian, his wife, the McCabes, and your niece Caitlin. Is that correct?
No, my brother Brian wasn't there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, my wife, Caitlin, and Nicole.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry.
So, at some point shortly after that, or at some point, who, if anyone else, arrives and sort of joins your table, your group?
So my brother Brian and a gentleman named Brian Higgins, they came and joined us.
And is Brian Higgins, is that someone that you had met previously?
Yeah, a few times.
And how did you know him?
I don't know how I initially met him, but probably just seen him around. I knew that he worked as an ATF agent. I knew that he worked inside the Canton Police Department, so I think I knew him from that, just being around.
Fair to say you knew him sort of through your brothers, either Brian or Kevin or both?
Yeah, that's the only way I met him.
And about how long after you arrived was it that they arrived?
I would probably within like 35 minutes, roughly.
And what, if anything, did you know about sort of where they had been prior to or what they had been doing earlier that day?
So they were in New York at a police officer's funeral. They went there for the ceremony, and the snowstorm was coming, so they decided that they were going to drive back early to beat the storm.
You mentioned, well, as far as going out on that particular evening, what was that in reference to?
So my nephew, Brian, it was his birthday.
And so when you say your nephew, Brian, whose son is that?
So that's my older brother, Brian's son, Brian.
So Brian Jr.?
Brian Jr., yeah, we call him Brian Jr. Yeah.
And was he present at the waterfall that night?
He wasn't, no. He decided that he didn't want to go out.
And when your brother, your older brother Brian and Mr. Higgins come in, where is it that they go sort of in relation to the group?
So they walk in and they come directly over to the table.
Now, at some point later in the evening, who, if anyone else, also joins your group or your table?
So John O'Keefe came with Karen Reed.
And how did you know Karen Reed at that time?
I met her a couple times. She also had been in the pizza shop a couple times, and driving by the street when I would come home, she would be outside One Meadows.
And just to be clear, when we're speaking about Ms. Reed, do you see her in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you just identify as to where she's seated?
She's sitting right over there between the two attorneys.
Just ask the record to reflect identification of the defendant.
Okay.
Now, prior to Mr. O'Keefe coming into the waterfall, you had mentioned some text communications with him, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, other communications did you have with Mr. O'Keefe before he got there?
I don't think, nothing before I got to the waterfall?
Not before you got to the waterfall, before Mr. O'Keefe got to the waterfall.
With Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Just that where was he, or where were we going? Where was he going to be?
What, if any, communications do you recall in regard to who was there or who was going to be there?
With Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think at some point he said, who's there? And I said, my brother Brian. I said, Brian, and he said, your brother Brian? I said, yeah, Brian and Brian Higgins are there. And he said, where's your brother Kevin? And I said, I have no clue, LOL or something.
And when Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed come into the bar, where is it that they go upon coming back?
They walked directly in, came towards our table, just a striked up conversation. I think John came over to my wife and said hello to her first, maybe, and then just kind of like got with the group, started talking.
Now, fair to say Mr. O'Keefe knew your wife, Julie, as well?
Yes.
And how would you describe their relationship as far as you?
Good relationship.
And when Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant come over to the area where you and your wife is, what, if anything, did you observe the defendant to do?
Well, when they came over, I think they started talking. At one point, when they first came over, the defendant came in with a glass underneath her jacket, and I thought that was kind of funny, and I laughed about it and made a comment about it.
And what, if anything, did you notice sort of about the glass? What was in the glass, anything like that?
It was just a tall, like, cylinder glass with some clear liquid in it and a lime.
And that was under her coat when she came in?
Yeah, it was like she pulled it out.
So both of them took a glass out of the bar?
Now, if you know about what time was it that Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed came in?
So I got there close to 10, I would say 10:45-ish, to the best of my recollection.
And following sort of the blows and all that kind of stuff, as far as after they first came in, where did they go from there?
I think the defendant sat down, and I think, well, John went to the bar and got a beer.
And you know, is that sort of what John would typically drink?
Yeah, Bud Light, I think.
And you mentioned that the defendant sat down. Where does she sit down in relation to you and your wife?
I think right next to, next to my wife.
Now, with regard to just how would you describe sort of the general sort of tone or demeanor within the group at the waterfall that night?
It was fine. Everyone was just having a good time.
So no arguments, anything like that?
No, not at all.
And specifically between Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, what, if anything, did you observe between them?
I didn't notice anything abnormal.
Now, if you recall, what was Mr. O'Keefe wearing on that evening?
Blue jeans, baseball hat, and kind of like a pullover light sweatshirt type of grayish garment. I don't know what you would call it. It wasn't like a hoodie, and it was like a long sleeve shirt.
And is that what he was wearing when he walked in?
Yes.
At any point in time, did you see him with like a jacket or anything like that?
No.
Now, as far as your observations of Mr. O'Keefe, what, if anything, did you observe about that clothing as far as any tears or any dishevelment of it at all?
No, I didn't notice anything. It looked fine to me.
And as far as Mr. O'Keefe, his person himself, what, if anything, did you observe as far as any injuries or anything like that when you saw him?
Didn't see anything. Looked normal.
Now, after Mr. O'Keefe went to the bar and got a beer, do you know where he went from there?
Just came back over to the table, started chatting people up.
And when you say the table, was that sort of your area, or was there a different area that he was?
No, the same table, the same high top. Some people sitting, some people standing.
And as far as sort of this length that you've described, about 6 feet or so of that table, if you recall, sort of where were people situated around the table?
I mean, I was sitting at one point because I was eating, so I was sitting in one seat. My wife was sitting in another seat. Matt and Jen was sitting in another seat. I recall John standing a lot. I don't think he sat at all. I think Karen was sitting at one point, probably like situated near, maybe across from my wife or next to my wife.
Now, as far as Mr. O'Keefe was concerned, do you recall anything specific that you discussed or talked about while you were there that night?
No, nothing in particular.
And throughout sort of the course of the time that you were there, what, if any, discussion was there as to going someplace or wanting to go someplace after the waterfall?
So we have this like little ritual that when one of my nieces or nephews turn 21, we go back to the pizza shop, like, you know, after hours and turn on the oven and make pizzas and stuff. And there was talk about going back there. Miss Reed asked if we could go back and make pizzas up at my pizza shop a couple times. And then there was some talk about maybe after, someone mentioned going back to my brother's house after.
And just to be clear, your brother's house, which brother?
My brother Brian.
And where did your brother Brian live at that time?
34 Fairview.
You familiar with that address?
Yeah, I used to live there. I grew up there.
So prior to it being your brother Brian's house, was that your parents' house?
My parents' house, yeah.
So that's where you and your siblings essentially grew up from the time that you moved to Canton?
Yes.
Okay, so now I want a pizza shop where I can make
over to your
late night
pizza shop
pizzas.
to make pizzas, things like that. Is that something that the defendant talked about once or more than once?
A few times.
And you referenced sort of this ritual when one of your nieces or nephews turned 21, and it was your nephew Brian Jr.'s birthday the following day, is that correct?
Yeah.
Was he turning 21 at that point?
I think so. I can't remember exactly if he was 20 or 21. I think he was turning 21 though.
So in relation to this evening of January 28th, that sort of ritual that you were talking about, when was the last time before January 28th that you had done that, if you know?
Trying to see who else turned 21. Can't remember exactly. I know it was recent. I remember doing it. I just can't remember the date.
And that's all I'm really asking, sir.
Yeah.
Was it recent to January 28th?
Yeah, it was sometime before that, but within like a couple of months, I think someone turned 21. Maybe we just went there.
And so what, if any, conversation from your end as far as, obviously it's your pizza shop, so
Yeah.
what, if any, conversation from your end was there in reference to doing that?
To doing that night. So we were doing a weight loss competition, me, Matt McCabe, and my brother Brian, and we had like 2 more weeks left in it, and we do it, every year it's like a charity, we do it, and the proceeds go to like scholarship funds. So I said no because we were doing this weight loss challenge, and I just didn't want to give in and, eat pizza 2 weeks before we were weighing in.
And your wife, Julie, how long was she at the bar for?
Not long when I got there. She probably was only there for maybe 35, 40 minutes. She had a migraine. She wanted to go home, so she left.
So she indicated she had a migraine and she was going home?
Yeah, she didn't feel well.
And was that before or after Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed arrived?
She left after they arrived. So then she must have left later than that. Yeah.
Now, later on in the evening, what, if anything, did you buy for the group?
So at one point towards the end of the night, I bought a round of fireball shots for the group.
And who partook in that, if you know?
I don't remember exactly. Probably half of the people there took them. I don't remember everyone. I wasn't paying attention.
And when you say sort of towards the end of the night, when was it that things sort of wrapped up at the waterfall?
I think they called last call right before 12. Pretty much right before 12, it all started wrapping up.
And as far as the group that you were with at the high top table, who, if anyone, from that group left first?
So my wife left first, obviously. She didn't feel well. She left earlier. Then Brian and Brian left. My sister-in-law left. Matt and Jen left. I left probably second to last. I probably left last with John and Karen, or right around the time that John and Karen left.
And do you recall, as far as you're leaving around the same time, do you recall walking out together or seeing them outside, or where is it that you recall sort of you leaving at the same time?
My best recollection is I walked out roughly the same time, and I walked out the building, and I come up Washington to the right, and they were either shortly after or shortly before me, and they walk up to the left.
And when you say walk up Washington, did you walk home that night?
Yeah, I walked home.
And when you came out of the bar, what, if anything, did you notice sort of about the weather or what was going on with that?
It just started snowing. It was cold out, and it just started snowing. The ground had like a light coat.
Could you still sort of see the street?
Oh, yeah, you could still see it.
And you mentioned you walked out towards Washington, and Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed did as well?
Yes.
And which direction? Did you go in the same direction, different direction?
Look, when you come out the building, you have to go to the left in order to get onto Washington. So I come out to the left and then go to the right onto Washington, and they would go to the left onto Washington.
They were sort of walking opposite
directions.
On Washington.
Yes.
Now, as far as throughout sort of the course of the evening, did you have occasion to see sort of what Mr. O'Keefe mentioned, that he went to the bar and he got a beer? Was that the only beer that you saw him having, or did he have more than one?
I'm sure he had more than one. Yeah, I saw him with more than one.
So you saw him, but essentially what I'm asking is, throughout the course of the evening, when you saw him drinking, other than maybe the fireball shot, you saw him just drinking beer?
Just beer, yeah.
And as far as Miss Reed was concerned, what, if anything, did you observe her drinking throughout the course of the evening?
Just a clear liquid in a glass. I assume it was some sort of vodka drink.
Was that the same glass that she had come into the establishment with under her coat, or was it a different glass later on?
I believe it was the same one.
You leave from the waterfall and you're walking home, is that right?
Correct.
So fair to say you didn't go to 34 Fairview that night?
I did not.
And about what time was it that you got home?
Sometime between, I'd say 5 past and 10 past 12, somewhere in that window.
And was your wife home at that point?
She was.
And as far as your children were concerned, how many of your 3 sons were living with you at that time?
At that time, 2. My 16-year-old, well, he wasn't 16 years old at the time, but my 16-year-old and my 20-year-old.
And so 16 and 20 now, is that?
16 and 20 now, so that'd be like 14 and 18 then, I guess.
And so your oldest son?
He was in the San Diego in the Navy.
Okay. And if you know, or did you check or anything as far as your kids when you got home, were they there if you know?
No, I ran right upstairs. I was freezing. I went right into my room.
Essentially, you went to bed, is that correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to publish for the jury just a small portion from what's been marked as Exhibit 53, the waterfall surveillance.
Okay.
We're going to end up watching this entire video,
from channel
just 3 seconds at a time.
If you could just pause there for a moment, Ms. Kim. Mr. Albert, looking up at the screen, do you recognize generally what's depicted up on the screen?
Yeah, so those are the tables that I was speaking of that are like, there's like 2 or 3 in a row. Yep.
I'm sorry, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I don't have any.
My apologies, Your Honor. Thank you very much. So, sir, what I'm handing to you is a laser pointer. Basically, just click that button and point it up the screen. Okay. Mr. Albert, using that laser pointer that I just handed to you, if you could direct the jury's attention to about where the high top is and then about where you were seated at that high top.
So here's the high top, and I can't really see myself, to be honest with you, this far away. But somewhere, I think I ate on this side here.
And as far as the bar is concerned, where would that be?
Back here. Wait. So this is from walking into the waterfall. Okay, so the bar is after, so that's the high top next to the bar. The bar's back there.
And as far as the band that you were talking about that was playing, if you could direct the jury's attention where that was.
On this side over here. It's kind of fuzzy, but that side.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to fast forward to 1054. And I would ask if you could play that from 1054 to about 1056.
Get about 2 minutes of video. Looks like the band's playing. See some cymbals moving a little bit. Oh man, it's like a drum solo.
I'm sorry, if you could just pause briefly, Ms. Gilman.
Send professional invoices can get paid faster, all with
Okay, who left
now,
Siri on?
Mr. Albert, looking up at the screen, as far as the door that you came out and the door that you eventually exited from the waterfall, do you see sort of that general area and where that is in the video?
No, because I think it's offline here. I think it would be over here.
So it would be off sort of towards the left, is that correct?
Yeah, like down this way.
Ms. Gilman, if you could press play.
Hey, hey, hey.
As far as 2 individuals sort of walking in, do you recognize who those individuals are?
I do. That's John O'Keefe and Miss Reed.
And again, Ms. Gilman, if you could just run it through 1056.
Hugs all around. While the band plays. They're set up right in front of the band. Like, the band member could reach out and steal their drinks. Looks like there are 3 guitars. 1 drummer in the band. No keyboards. Bass guitar.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. You can take that down.
Do you think he's the one seated on the far left? I think the drummer has a cowbell.
Now, Mr. Albert, as far as your son, Colin, do you know sort of where he was that night?
Yes, so he was at my brother Brian's house for my nephew's birthday.
And he came home sometime after you, is that correct?
Correct.
And essentially you came in, went to bed, so do you know what time your son came home that night?
I know that.
Do you know, just answer yes or no whether you know.
Yes.
And how do you know that, sir?
Because he opened the bedroom door and said, "Good night, guys, I love you, I'm home."
And about how long after you got home was it that your son got home?
I'd say within 10 minutes.
And as far as sort of coming into your room, is that something that was required of your kids when they came home?
He would always do that, yeah. That was something just to let us know that they were home.
Now, turning your attention to the next day on the 29th, about, obviously at some point you woke up. Do you recall about what time that was?
8-ish, 8:30-ish.
So sometime between 8 and 8:30?
Yeah. I was still in bed. I woke up, but I didn't leave my room.
And what was it that, or who was it that woke you up that morning?
At that time, I just woke up on my own.
And when you woke up, what happened after you woke up?
Shortly after I woke up, my wife entered the room, but that was a little bit later. I don't know exactly what time. And she informed me that something had happened to John.
And what was it that you told her?
I don't know the exact words that she said, but basically that John had died.
And what, if anything, did she indicate to you as to where John had died?
That he was found somewhere on the front lawn of 34 Fairview.
And receiving that information, where did you go, or where did you and your wife? I
was in shock. I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean?" And then I jumped up, and she's like, we have to go over. Let's go over to your brother's house.
And about what time was it, if you know, that you got over to your brother's house?
Sometime approximately like after 9 o'clock. I don't remember exactly what time we went over there, maybe 9 or 9:30.
And when you arrived at your brother's house, who, if anyone, was there?
To the best of my recollection, from what I remember, I was there. My wife was there, my brother Brian, Nicole, Brian Higgins was there. I believe Matt McCabe was there and Jen McCabe was there.
When you came into the home, sort of where were they in relation?
Just sitting at the kitchen table.
And if you know, about how long did you stay at your brother's house when you came over?
Maybe an hour.
And where did you go from there?
Afterwards, just home.
Now, as far as subsequent to this, at some point within the days that followed, did you have occasion to speak with some troopers or members of the state police?
Yes, I did.
And how many troopers from the state police did you talk to when you spoke?
2
And where was that?
at my condo.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions, John.
Okay, cross-examination.
I think cross-examination is going to take longer than the actual direct.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Mr. Albert, you and I have never met, correct?
I don't believe so.
You've testified that
the abbreviated
essentially lived in Canton your whole life, correct?
Correct.
Moved there when you were 4 years old?
Correct.
And the house to which you and your family moved was 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You lived there for how long?
33 years.
And you currently own D&E Pizza in Canton?
Correct.
I believe you testified that you've owned it for approximately 25 years?
Correct.
Clearly, you have a lot of ties to the city of Canton. Would you agree?
Sure.
You live there?
Yes.
You work there?
Yes.
You have family there?
Yep.
You raised your kids there?
Yep.
And you also are a town selectman in the city of Canton?
Recently elected.
The town of Canton, I should say.
It's a town, correct.
And not only that, but your brother, Kevin Albert, is a police officer in Canton?
He is.
Your brother, Brian Albert, with whom you grew up, is currently retired, but had been a Boston police officer who lived in Canton, correct?
Correct.
You would agree with me that Brian Albert only moved from Canton after John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
I'll phrase it the exact same way and ask for a yes or no if you can do that.
Oh, brutal.
You would agree with me that your brother Brian Albert only moved from Canton after John O'Keefe was found dead on his front lawn?
Objection.
Can you answer that? Can you answer that?
Yeah, I just don't understand the phrase, but he moved shortly after that, yes.
Your brother Tim Albert lives with your parents in Canton, correct?
Correct.
And Tim Albert and your parents live directly across the street from the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Do you know whom they bought that house from?
Objection.
The objection sustained.
But you still live in Canton?
Correct.
With your wife, Julie Albert?
Correct.
And your son, Colin Albert, correct?
Along with my other 2 sons, yes.
And you would agree that your entire family has deep roots in the town of Canton?
I guess.
You would agree with me that the Albert family is well known in the town of Canton?
We have a big family.
And you would agree with me that the Albert family is a powerful family in the town of Canton?
Objection.
Sustained.
As a town selectman, you have some power, do you not?
I'm one of 5 selectmen.
And as a police detective, Kevin Albert has some power, does he not?
Objection.
Sustained.
And you also have close friends on the Canton Police Department, do you not?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
I have some.
Now, you know that Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor is the lead investigator on this case, correct?
I know that.
One of your wife's best friends is Michael Proctor's sister, Courtney Proctor, correct?
Objection.
Okay, that's sustained. You've got another witness you can ask that of, Mr. Yannetti.
You know Courtney Proctor, correct?
Objection.
Allowed.
Yes.
And you know her to be Michael Proctor's sister, correct?
That's correct.
You attended Michael Proctor's sister's wedding, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Sure. Why don't you come on over?
So far, the judge has not denied any request to approach. Think that my gut feel, just from what we've seen the judge rule so far, is that she'll allow this one question and then tell him to move on. I think the brothers switched houses. Yeah. Getting the jury to hear the question is enough. Basically, we know that we have a large family that's well connected in the town, that is powerful, meaning they have, if they need something to get done, they could probably make a call. I'm not talking about illegal stuff. I'm saying, if the garbage didn't get picked up on Meadows or on Fairview, or their can got skipped or something, they could make a call and the right people would be notified, and the garbage man would come back around. That's what I'm saying. They've got people in places. Any idea who the people are sitting above the family in the gallery? Yes, that is the media. Very limited, 10 spots available to media in this courtroom. And the media fight for position. Kid you not. I mean, not like all-out battle, but close to it. If RA had the power, he would use it to make sure his garbage is collected. If I had the power, I would tell you this. It would be more than my recycling bin has been full for 2 weeks straight. For 2 weeks straight, and they won't pick it up. I've got cardboard boxes just packed, broken down, stacked in there, as tight as they can possibly be, and they just won't pick it up. Now, fun fact, in my town, you pay extra for your recycling bin, which we do. But my town, because the recycling is expensive to dump, we don't have any place that takes it, they just take it to the garbage, to the landfill, the same place they take the rest of the garbage. But they collect it on different days. So they say the recycling collection is on this day, it also goes to the dump. I'm doing my part here, but the town, for budgetary reasons, throws all the recycling away. And now they're just not picking it up. So, are you behind on property taxes? No, I'm current, Grainers. I'm current. Ends up in the same place. It does. 100%. I mean, they own up. They tell us. I'm learning. I mean, I have a few empty boxes of like some of the more common sizes because I know I'm going to need them. It's a blue bin. We've got the green bins for the garbage and the blue bin for the recycling. We sort it, we stack it, we break it down, we clean it. We do everything we're supposed to with that recycling bin. They just won't pick it up. They used to pick up the garbage and recycling on the same day in the same truck at the same time. That's how everyone knew. That's when it really got out. Because, I mean, people were taking videos like, here comes the garbage man. There's our 2 garbages, and there's our recycling. And they take it all and dump it in the same truck and compact it, and off it goes. So, I guess the optics were bad. So now they grab the recycling in the garbage truck on different days. I need the space. I've got a big family, and one garbage we go through. We have a lot of garbage. Sadly, we're constantly like fixing stuff in the house, and so things get torn out and repaired and replaced, and so we just have a lot of garbage. Will you be running for mayor in the next election cycle or the one right after that? Stephen, I actually was considering running this last time around. I had some people come up and ask me if I would run, and I told them I'd think about it, and then I told them no. maybe next election cycle, they have selectmen. I might go for like a commissioner position. We have commissioners. Some people have city council, commissioners, selectmen, city council. It's pretty much all the same thing. I might go for commissioner. I have the calves to run. I do. Mahoney, that is our audio heartbeat. Just to let the court letting us know that they haven't forgot about us. We're on life support, but we'll be brought back in momentarily. Paul Mac, I hear you, but I would not have any room in my garbage if I put all the recycling in. See if he gets this last question in about what he knows her to be.
I believe you testified, sir, that you've known Michael Proctor's sister for about 20 years.
Objection.
I don't think he said that, but we'll let that stand and then move on, please.
Yeah, that's it. One question.
About 20 years. You testified.
Sure, if that's.
I believe, didn't you testify to that on direct examination just moments ago when Mr. Lally was asking you questions?
Objection, Your Honor.
Next question, Mr. Yannetti. Objection sustained.
How long have you known Michael Proctor for?
I mean, I know he's Courtney's brother. I couldn't tell you exactly how long I've known him for.
About 15 years or so?
Roughly.
All right. Who is Kenneth Berkowitz?
The former Canton police chief.
And how do you know him?
His son and my son are the same age, so they played on some sports teams when they were younger together. I think that's when I first came to know Ken.
You became friendly with him?
I became friendly with him, sure.
And how would you characterize your relationship with him?
Friends.
You've seen him socially?
Really.
You've been out for drinks with him?
I think maybe once.
And you've known him for how long?
20 plus years.
And you say you've only been out with him for drinks one time in those 20 years?
I can't even remember if it was with drinks one time. Yeah, no.
What other types of activities have you done together?
I can't think of any. I think he came to an event that I held one time. That's about it.
Have you been out with him in a group setting?
That event that I just mentioned, yeah.
And what event was that?
It was my campaign event when I was running for select board.
He was one of your supporters?
He came by.
Did he donate money to your campaign?
I think he did.
May we approach, Judge?
Yes.
So they've got a little connection there. The defense is probably going to use this and say, look, we've got enough that shows there's a financial interest between the two. We'd like to be able to pursue this a little further. We'll see if the judge allows this. Okay, different media today. Different media over here. Here comes the witness impeachment.
Sir, I'm going to display a photograph with the court's permission on the screen, and I'd ask you to take a look at it, and if you can let the jury know.
Do you have a hard copy of it?
Yes, we do have a hard copy.
So why don't you show it to the witness and
Happy
put it
to
in
do that.
evidence?
Thank you, Ron.
Okay. And we'll take that into evidence and then.
That makes sense. May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Ooh, what is this?
Okay, sir, I've handed you a photograph. Do you recognize what that depicts?
Yes.
What does it depict?
Me and Kenny Berkowitz.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of you and Kenny Berkowitz?
Kenny?
You mean is the picture us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I would offer that, Your Honor.
Wow.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, wait.
55.
Ivan, if I run for office, I'm not going to fundraise it on YouTube.
Oh.
That would be a nightmare for reporting.
May that be published to the jury on the screen, Your Honor?
Sure.
So, Mr. Albert, that's obviously you on the right and Kenny Berkowitz on the left.
Correct.
Have you seen that photo before?
I believe I've seen it.
Do you recall when?
I believe that's my fundraiser for when I was running for the select board, that event that I spoke of earlier.
Okay. And when would it have been that you saw that photograph?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it was on my Facebook page when I was running for select board. It looks familiar.
Has Mr. Lally shown you that photograph?
No.
Has he informed you that the defense would be introducing that photograph during this trial?
Nope.
You can take the photo down, Mr. Bates.
Really?
And the lights can go on. You would agree with me that one of your functions as a selectman is to oversee public safety in the town?
Yes.
And you would agree that the police department is a key component of public safety in the town of Canton?
Yes.
So part of your duties as a town selectman is to oversee the Canton Police Department, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll let him have it. Is that one of your duties, sir?
I believe so. I'm new at that. I'm recently elected, so I'm just going through it. But yeah, I believe so.
And you became a town selectman shortly after Kenny Berkowitz retired, correct?
I'm not sure when Kenny retired.
But you would agree with me that Kenny Berkowitz has both personal and professional relationships with you and members of your family, correct?
Can you rephrase that?
You would agree with me that the former Canton Police Chief, Kenny Berkowitz, has both personal and professional relationships with you and members of your family?
Objection, Your Honor. It's the same question.
Go ahead and answer that question.
I'm not sure I agree with that question.
Well, your brother Kevin Albert worked under Chief Berkowitz, correct?
Correct.
Would you consider that to be a professional relationship?
With them two, yes.
And your brother Brian Albert attended Chief Berkowitz's retirement party, did he not?
I have no idea.
But your brother Brian is also a friend of Kenny Berkowitz, is he not?
He may be, not sure.
Really?
And as far as your ties to the Canton Police, you would agree with me that Lieutenant Michael Lank is a member of the Canton Police Department, correct?
He is.
And you've been friends with him for years, correct?
I've known him for a long time.
You've been childhood friends with him since the age of 12, correct?
Somewhere around there, maybe earlier.
And you're tight with him?
I don't know if I'd call it tight.
He's not an enemy of yours, is he?
Oh, God, no.
No, he's a friend of yours, correct?
Sure.
And does sure mean yes?
Yes.
Now, your older brother, Brian, you've already testified, was a Boston police officer for years, correct?
Correct.
And he achieved some notoriety on a television show, did he not?
Objection.
Okay.
He was in the fugitive unit?
Correct.
And you know that your brother Brian was also a trained boxer, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Brian is a lot bigger guy than you are, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your brother Brian Albert is someone who is close to his family, correct?
Yes.
And when I say his family, I'm talking about not just his wife and children, but also his extended family, correct?
Yes.
You were part of his family, obviously, correct?
Yes.
And your son Colin is part of his family, correct?
Yes.
The Albert family is close, correct?
Yes.
You all essentially grew up in Canton, correct?
Correct.
And you hung out with each other growing up, correct?
We were siblings, so.
Of course.
Yes.
And you still hang out with each other quite often, correct?
Like all of us?
In various combinations.
We have different relationships with my siblings.
Sure, but you see some more than others, but you hang out with your family, do you not?
Yeah, mostly during holidays.
And you go out for drinks together, correct?
Occasionally.
And you're protective of each other, correct?
Like most families.
And if someone had a dispute with a member of the Albert family, Brian wouldn't be happy about that, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You know that Brian would stick up for your kids, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your son Colin is particularly close to your brother Brian, is he not?
Objection.
I'll let him have that. Do you know?
Yes.
In fact, your son Colin was a football player through high school, was he not?
Yes.
What was his number?
In high school?
Yes.
34, I believe.
And was that for 34 Fairview?
I don't think so.
Now, you testified you moved to Maple Street in Canton not long before January 28th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And before that, you lived at 7 Meadows Ave in Canton?
Correct.
And that was when John O'Keefe was your neighbor, correct?
Correct.
I believe you testified he was a couple of houses away from you?
Yes.
And he was your neighbor for a series of years, was he not?
Yes.
While he was living in the neighborhood, you knew that he was working as a Boston police officer, correct?
Correct.
And you were familiar with him, correct?
What do you mean? What do you mean by familiar?
You knew who he was. You know, you became familiar with him.
Yeah, he was my neighbor. I knew who he was.
Right. And you knew that he was not married, correct?
Yes.
And at a certain point, you knew that he was dating Karen Reed.
Yeah, at some point.
All right. Now, you would agree with me that your family has a police background, sir, correct?
I wouldn't agree with that statement.
2 of your brothers are or were police officers, correct?
Out of 7 of us, yes.
And you knew friends of your brothers who were also police officers or in law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
And you had already testified that you know some members of the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
And you socialized with police officers, did you not?
Have I? Sure.
You've been to bars with police officers, correct?
Correct.
And you've drank with police officers, right?
Sure.
And we were friendly with police officers, correct?
Yes.
And with regard to, I'd like to ask you some questions about people specifically connected to this case. We've established that Lieutenant Lank has been a friend of yours for years, correct?
Yes.
We've established that you know former police chief Kenneth Berkowitz in such a way that you feel comfortable calling him before this jury Kenny Berkowitz, correct?
I know Kenny, yep.
And he's actually donated to your campaign when you were running for town selectman, correct?
Correct.
And you also knew Michael Proctor prior to January 29th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
You've attended social events together with him, have you not?
Objection.
I'll let that one question.
Couple.
So, at some point, Michael Proctor came to question you, did he not?
Along with another trooper, correct.
And at the point in time when Michael Proctor came to question you, you knew who he was, correct?
Yes.
You knew him by face, correct?
Correct.
And you knew him by name, correct?
Correct.
There was no need for Michael Proctor to formally introduce himself to you, was there?
Objection.
Sustained.
What did he say when he first walked in the door in terms of introductions?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we be seen as sidebar, Judge?
Sure.
They want to get this in. Michael Proctor, when he came in to interview our witness here, Mr. Albert, he acted as if they didn't know each other, like they hadn't been friends. Hey, my name is Michael Proctor. I'm the investigator here. Work for the Canton Police Department, just down the road here. You are you Christopher Albert? Is it? All right. Do you mind? Do you have a moment? Could we have we got a couple of questions? Why would you do that? Why would you? Why would you try to conceal that? Pro would say I'm here on a professional basis. Let's see if we get to hear this or get to see it. I think this is recorded. I think it's on body cam or something. I don't know. Because I'm trying to think of how else the state would know that they said this. Might have been an audio recording. Lots of doubt. We'll see if the judge allows this. I feel like we're flirting with a line that the judge does not want us to go much further. And she's allowed little bits, but she's trying to fend off just a full-blown conspiracy goose chase. Does come across as sketchy. This witness is a little cagey, defensive in his answers. His tone changed entirely on cross, and to be expected. But I'm sure the jury's caught on to this.
Without getting into the precise wording, you'd agree with me that there was no need for Michael Proctor to formally introduce himself to you for that meeting, correct?
Yes.
He didn't need to say, "How do you do? I am Michael Proctor," correct?
No.
No. Do you consider the Proctors to be the Albert second family?
Objection.
Do you consider that?
No.
You are aware that there are members of the Proctors family who have posted publicly that the Alberts are their second family, correct?
So the objection is sustained, and I'm striking that question. Disregard.
Now, at the time that Trooper Michael Proctor showed up to question you, sir, you knew that Karen Reed had been charged in this case, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that John O'Keefe had been found dead on your brother's lawn, correct?
Correct.
Did it occur to you that it was odd that the state police sent somebody from the Proctor family to interview you
Objection, Your Honor.
on February 10th of 2022?
Sustained.
All right.
Big sigh
Now,
from the prosecution.
You've testified that on January 28th of 2022, that day, that Friday that you were working, John O'Keefe stopped into D&E Pizza, your shop, correct?
Correct.
And there was discussion about whether you would be going out that night, and if so, where you would be, correct?
Correct.
Now, you've previously, on direct examination, characterized your relationship with him as being friends, correct?
Correct.
It's fair to say, however, that prior to January 28th of 2022, you had never exchanged personal information with John O'Keefe, correct?
You mean, I'm sorry, you mean like Phone numbers or
A
but
cell number prior to that day?
no, I didn't.
And at that point in time, he had lived in your neighborhood for 4 to 5 years, correct?
Correct.
So I believe you've testified that that night after working, you went out around 10 minutes of 10 p.m.?
Roughly.
Before going out, did you have anything alcoholic to drink?
I think I may have had a beer at my pizza shop. I don't remember exactly.
So you have a refrigerator there that you can keep drinks cold, correct?
Among other things.
And you do have beers in that fridge for
Sometimes.
personal use?
Sometimes.
Do you know how many beers that you would have had before going out?
No.
And would you have drank that beer as you were cleaning up at the end of the night?
Probably.
Did you have anything to eat at the pizza shop?
No.
When did you last eat before you went out at 9:50 or so?
When did I last eat?
Yes.
It's a long time ago. I'm not sure.
And you knew that your wife Julie was starting the night at CF McCarthy's, correct?
Yes.
And you couldn't meet her there because you were still working, right?
Correct.
But at some point you heard that Julie and others were headed to the waterfall, correct?
Yes.
And that was where you planned to go after you closed up D&E Pizza.
Correct.
With regard to the time that you left, 9:50 or so is your best estimate of when you're closing the doors and walking over to the waterfall?
Yes.
And the waterfall is a short walk to D&E Pizza?
Yes.
Maybe about 3 minutes?
About that.
And your plan was to walk there that night, correct?
Correct.
You had not taken a car to D&E Pizza anyway, right?
I don't believe so.
So what time did you get to the waterfall?
Shortly before 10. I don't know exactly.
All right. And yeah, I believe you've testified that John O'Keefe and Karen Reed were not there when you arrived, right?
Correct.
And the food that you ordered, do you remember what appetizers you would have gotten?
Probably like potato skins and some sort of chicken tenders. I would guess. It's 2 years ago, so I don't remember exactly.
All right. And did you order a drink along with the appetizers?
I believe so.
All right. And that would have been the Miller Lite that you talked about?
Correct.
Then not long after you got there, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins showed up, correct?
Correct.
And you had met Brian Higgins prior to that night?
Yes.
In fact, you had testified that you had seen him around quite a bit, correct?
A few times.
And you knew him, I believe your testimony was, from him working inside the Canton police station, correct?
I knew that he worked there.
Did you testify on direct examination, quote, I knew him from working inside Canton PD?
Yes.
And you've been inside Canton Police, correct?
Maybe twice in my life.
You knew that Brian Albert, your brother, and Brian Higgins were friends, correct?
I knew they knew each other.
So are you saying that they were acquaintances?
No, I guess they're friends.
You guess they're friends?
Yeah, they're friends.
Was there something confusing about my question the first time I asked it?
Objection, Your Honor.
In any case, would you agree that shortly before Brian Albert and Brian Higgins arrived at the waterfall, or shortly after they did, there was a couple whom, I believe you call them a Greek couple because their last name is difficult to pronounce for everybody. But do you remember them being there?
Yes.
All right. If I mention the name Kolakithis, does that ring a bell? Or do you...
That's them, yeah.
That's them, okay. And the whole group was either standing or sitting around a high-top table?
Correct.
And at 9:45 p.m., you texted John O'Keefe while you were at the waterfall, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that the language of your text was, quote, "Get over here or I'll fuck up your lawn," end quote?
That was one of the texts.
We have that printed out that I can take. I'll make just have a moment. May I approach?
Sure.
Oh, do we have, does this say, is there an evidence number?
No, it needs to be marked.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't think I asked to approach.
Go, that's fine.
Thank you. I've placed a document before you, sir. Take a look at that and tell the jury whether or not you recognize it.
Yeah, I recognize it.
What is it?
It's a text message, 2 text messages.
Okay. And who are the participants in that text message exchange?
Me and John.
And what is it that you said and at what time?
So the first one.
Okay. One over.
One sigh from the judge. Man. I think with the number of objections we're getting from the prosecution, they're trying to head off this line of questioning, and the judge is allowing the majority of it. Although you can tell just by the way they ask some questions, they know they're not going to get them in, and it's just for the effect of letting the jury hear the question. But the downside for them is the prosecution is so quick on the objection, even before the question's out. The judge normally wants to hear the rest of the question, but sometimes even then she knows, yeah, this one's not coming in. Oh, man. Quick check here. Jury hears it. These pictures are going to be pictures of text messages, and they're probably the ones we just heard about. Something about lawn care. Wow. Get over here or I'll mess up your lawn.
As I did yesterday. So before you consider any electronic communication in your deliberations, you must first find that it's more likely true than not true that the person who either authored or sent or created or transmitted the communication was in fact John O'Keefe and this witness, Chris Albert. If you do not find that it's more likely true than not that John O'Keefe sent one or that this witness was the person who sent the message or transmitted it, then you may not consider it in deciding this case. So you have clarification a bit, Mr. Yannetti, at this point?
I do, yes. And just for the record and for the juror's edification, this is part of Exhibit 48, which is already in evidence. But I would ask that this particular exchange be posted on the screen with the court's permission.
Sure.
Oh, come on, Cameron. Let's take a peek. There we go.
Okay. And so you'd agree that when you say it was 2 text messages, they're both with regard to the same subject, correct?
What do you mean? I don't follow you.
It says get over here, right? And then the second is a continuation of that. If not, I'm going to fuck up your lawn, correct?
So you mean that's to tell him to come over to the waterfall?
Right.
Okay, I just didn't understand what you meant.
That's fine. So you're telling John O'Keefe this, correct?
Yeah, I'm telling him to come over and meet us.
All right, and that little emoji, that face emoji after, if not, I'm going to fuck up your lawn, that's...
Yeah, it's a laughing face.
Right, so you're...
It's a joke.
Saying you're cracking up.
Yeah, it's a joke.
One at a time.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Apologize.
Okay, we can take that down.
Timing's hard.
At about 10:45 p.m. or so, I believe, you testified that was when John O'Keefe walked into the bar with his girlfriend, Karen Reed.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Would you agree with me that between the time you arrived and the time you eventually left, that you did go up to the bar within that establishment a few times?
I'm sure he did.
And bought a few rounds of drinks?
I'm sure.
Including that one round of fireball shots?
Correct.
What was the state of your sobriety when John and Karen arrived?
Probably fine. Fine.
All right. You didn't feel like intoxicated
No.
or unable to, perceive what's going on. You were still in control of your faculties?
Yes.
And is it true that after John and Karen arrived that your wife, Julie, didn't want to stay any longer or too much longer?
She didn't want to. She had a headache, so she wanted to go home.
Right. And by that point in time, you had been there about an hour, maybe a little less?
When Karen and John arrived?
Right.
Yeah, about an hour.
All right, and you were having fun?
Sure.
And so Julie drove home, but you stayed, correct?
Correct.
All right. And in terms of Karen Reed's drinking, as far as you could see, she had that glass that she came in with that appeared to have a clear liquid in it, correct?
Correct.
And I believe you said either a lime or a lemon?
Thought I said a lime, but yeah.
Okay. And you assumed that was, vodka and soda water or vodka in some type of mixer, correct? That was clear?
Correct.
And if she was, while drinking that night, if she was mixing in water in between alcoholic drinks, it would have been impossible for you to discern which drinks were water and which drinks were vodka, correct?
Yeah, I would have no idea.
You can't tell that by eyeballing a drink, right?
No.
Because both liquids are clear.
Yes.
And in order to discern that, you'd actually have to be given a sip to see, right? Okay. But in any case, Karen does not appear to be under the influence of alcohol to you.
I didn't notice anything.
She wasn't stumbling, correct?
Nope.
She wasn't swaying.
I didn't notice.
She didn't appear to be unbalanced, correct?
I didn't notice anything.
She wasn't slurring her words.
Nope.
She wasn't talking gibberish, correct?
No.
She was engaging in normal conversation and she appeared to be under control?
Yeah.
And would you agree with me that she also appeared to be affectionate with John O'Keefe?
I wasn't really watching their interactions too much, to be honest.
But in any case, you never saw any arguing between the two of them?
I wasn't really paying attention to their
and
interactions.
You didn't perceive any tension between them, correct?
I didn't notice anything irregular.
Okay. And from your observations of Karen Reed that night, and you were there probably over 2 hours, were you not?
Total? About that, yeah.
From your observations of Karen that night, you would have had no problem with her driving a car, correct?
I wouldn't even have thought about it.
Everybody drives after drinking here. Not an issue, apparently.
Now, would you agree with me that of the group that you had met out, that you were the last person to leave the waterfall on January 29th of 2022?
I believe so.
Now, you previously, you testified on direct examination today, I believe, that you thought you got home between 12:05 and 12:10 a.m. on January 29th, correct?
That's what I remember.
If I suggested to you that you didn't even leave the bar until 12:13 a.m., would you quarrel with that?
Would I quarrel with it?
Yes.
No, I guess not. I mean,
All right. And is your memory exhausted as to the precise time that you left the bar?
Is your memory
is it exhausted?
Right. In other words, do you not remember the precise time that you left the bar that early morning?
It's over 2 years ago. I don't know the precise time.
Right.
That's why I said between 12:05 and 12:10.
That answers my question. Thank you. Could we have Exhibit 50, well, with the court's permission, can I publish Exhibit 53? It's a short clip from the waterfall.
Sure.
This seems petty. 2 years ago, after being out drinking at the bar, he leaves the bar. He thinks he left between 12:05 and 12:10, and it was actually 12:13.
I think we need to back it up. Maybe start.
Putting the chairs up. Closing time. Give hugs.
Yep. If we could pause it for a second, please. Mr. Albert, you would agree with me this was clearly the end of the night?
Sure.
The lights are all on at this point?
Yes.
The bar appears to have largely emptied out?
Yes.
Okay, continue, please.
What other facility do we only turn the lights on after we're done using it?
Pause it. Oh, there we go. My co-counsel is much better at this than I am. Do you know who that person is who's leaving the bar at this point at 12:13 and 43 a.m.?
Steve, it might be better without that spotlight.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
That's fine.
Yeah. I believe it's me.
Continue, please. Okay. You can take that off, please.
He's gone. He's gone.
So, having now viewed that video with the timestamp of 12:13 and about 43 seconds or so, does that refresh your memory as to when you left the waterfall?
Yes.
That would mean it would have been impossible for you to get home to Maple Street by 12:05 or 12:10, correct?
Correct.
Now, it was about maybe a 7-minute walk home. Would you agree with me?
From Waterfall to Maple? No, I said 7 minutes from D&E to Waterfall. Waterfall to Maple is probably less than 5 minutes.
So it's your testimony that D&E is closer to the waterfall than the waterfall is to Maple Street?
D&E's farther away from Waterfall than, farther away from where I live than Waterfall is.
I understand.
Oh, I don't follow you. I'm sorry.
I'll try to clarify. I don't mean to be confusing here.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm not asking about the distance between D&E and your home. I'm trying to compare, or ask you to compare, the distance between D&E and the waterfall, and then the waterfall and your home. Do you see the difference?
I think so.
Would you agree with me that your home is farther from the waterfall than D&E Pizza is from the waterfall?
I don't follow you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
A train left the station going 60 miles an hour.
Let's take it step by step. D&E Pizza to the waterfall. Are they on the same street?
Yes.
How many establishments, if you know, are between D&E Pizza and the waterfall?
Just a few.
Okay, so it's a very short walk from D&E Pizza to the waterfall.
Yes.
Correct? Your home on Maple Street is not on the same street as the waterfall, correct?
It's off of the same street.
But it's not on the same street?
No.
And your home on Maple Street is farther from the waterfall than D&E Pizza is to the waterfall. Is
Correct, correct.
Okay.
I didn't understand it earlier.
No, I know.
When you're headed to the waterfall,
because I'm not trying to trick you here. I just want to get the answer.
when you're headed to the waterfall, you want to drink, and so
you
you
would
walk
agree
quickly.
with me that it would take you longer to walk home from the waterfall than it would take you to walk to the waterfall from D&E Pizza?
Correct.
All right. And I believe you said that one walk was 7 minutes and one walk was maybe less than 5 minutes, correct?
Yes.
All right. The 7-minute walk would have been the walk home as opposed to the walk to the waterfall, correct?
Yes.
All right. So you have agreed that you left the bar at 12:13, almost 12:14, according to the video, and it would have taken you about 7 minutes to walk home, correct?
Not exactly sure how.
Can I see Councilor Tybart for just a second, please?
Judge is like, look, I just pulled this up on Google Maps, and it's exactly 300 feet further, or farther, as we say here in Boston. It's 300 feet farther from the waterfall to home than it was from pizza to the waterfall. But if you're going from the pizza place to the waterfall, you have to take into account that you're thirsty as all get out. And you know there's an ice-cold beverage waiting for you at the bar. So you walk faster past the cars to the bar than from the bar home. Did I clarify that for the rest of you? I don't know how this works. What is he trying to get out here? Okay, first of all, he's impeaching him on minutes of the timeline. Just minutes. It was almost an Australian accent. It was butchered. I think I committed a crime there, linguistically. Laura Martin, thanks for gifted a membership. Had a couple of memberships come in here. Let's see. First of all, it kicked off by Brybear, gifted a membership. It went to Melissa Ann. Melissa Ann immediately re-gifted a membership. Thank you very much, Melissa. That one went to Judy. Congratulations, Judy. And then also we've got a gifted membership from Laura Martin. Thank you, all of you. Crystal H, thank you, Laura Martin. Yes, Crystal H was the recipient of the last gifted membership. Thank you very much, Crystal. There it is. Oh man, Steven. No. That's we draw lines. We don't go there. I think the witness just gave up at the end and agreed. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been pointed out to me that I think we're not making the connection here, and I think it might be my fault. With regard to the timing of how long it took you to go home, I believe your best estimate is about 5 minutes? Is that your testimony? And when I say home, I'm not talking about from D&E Pizza. I'm talking about that early morning when you're at the waterfall.
I understand, yeah. I'd say around 5 minutes, I think, from the waterfall to Maple Street.
Fair enough. So now, if you're leaving the bar close to 12:14, as indicated on the video, you're getting home somewhere around 12:19, 12:20, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
And what were you wearing that night?
Blue jeans, sneakers, I think, and like a sweatshirt.
Okay. And it had started to snow by that point?
A little bit.
So the ground was a little bit either slushy or wet?
Not slushy, but could have been wet.
Could have been wet. And the snow had not yet started to accumulate, or had it?
It didn't start, no.
All right. So you're walking home, but it was cold, correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that in the best case scenario, you might have had a little bit more clothing on for that cold walk home?
I think I had a sweatshirt on.
Right, but you could have used something else, right?
Oh, probably.
In light of the weather?
Probably.
All right. Because you testified that by the time you got home, you were pretty cold, right?
Correct.
You hadn't, if it had been about a 5-minute walk, that was enough time for you to walk in almost shivering, correct?
Sure.
And given that there was precipitation, the snow had started, the sweatshirt would absorb the moisture as opposed to repel it, correct?
Sure.
And so you were wet as well when you walked in, right?
Sure.
And by that point in time, you were tired, correct?
I don't remember if I was tired, but
okay.
I don't remember if I was tired at that point.
Okay. You had worked all day?
Correct.
Till late in the day, actually into the evening, correct?
Correct.
Taking pizzas in and out of a hot oven?
Correct.
As well as other food that you serve as well, correct?
Calzones, maybe.
And
breadsticks.
You're now, and by the way, you'd had a couple of drinks or a few drinks, whatever it was, at the waterfall, correct?
Correct.
Two bears.
And you decided not to go to your brother Brian Albert's house, correct?
Correct.
That was in part because you weren't up for the continued partying at that point, correct?
Yeah, I just wanted to go home.
Right. And so when you got home, would you agree with me that your first priority would have been getting out of the wet clothes that you were in?
Correct.
And where would you have done that within your home?
In my bedroom.
And is this a townhouse? Or is it a freestanding residence?
It's a condominium.
Where are we going with this?
Condominium. How many floors?
There's 3 floors.
Did he like shed
And your
layers up the
bedroom's on the
sidewalk?
top floor?
Correct.
And the entrance is ground level?
Correct.
When you first entered the home in those wet clothes, where was your wife, Julie?
Upstairs in the bedroom.
And was she already washed up and ready for bed?
She was lying in bed.
Okay, I'm getting a little
And
creeped
where
out
did
here.
you go when you walked in the ground level?
I went up to the bedroom.
All right.
Took off my clothes, jumped in bed.
All right. Do you have a master bath with regard to your bedroom?
There's a bathroom, yeah.
All right. That would have been where you brushed your teeth?
Yeah.
And washed up?
Did he not
But I
brush his
did. That's where I would do those things, but I didn't do them.
You didn't do either of those?
No.
Okay. Did you grab a drink of water before you went to bed?
Nope.
All right. So you essentially came home, and I think we agreed it was around 12:20 or so, give or take a minute.
Roughly.
And you made a beeline for your bedroom.
Correct.
Did you fall asleep shortly thereafter?
Soon after.
Within 5 minutes or so?
Don't go there.
10 minutes?
I started to doze off. I don't know exactly how soon after I fell asleep.
All right. Sometime within 5 or 10 minutes, would you say?
I would say more like within 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay. So with regard to getting home, and we'll call it 12:19, because I think that's more consistent with what you said, and understanding that it's just an estimate. If you're walking in the door at 12:19, it takes you maybe a minute to get upstairs?
About a minute.
You kicked off your sneakers downstairs, I imagine?
Maybe, I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Okay, and then you walked up 2 flights of stairs, right?
Probably ran up the stairs because I was cold.
Okay, all right. So you're getting up there around 12:20 or so, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
And you believe that you dozed off about 15 minutes later, which would have made it about 12:35?
Somewhere around there.
There better be like a cell phone
Now,
record or
when
something
you came
coming in
home,
here.
you would agree with me that your son, Colin Albert, was not home, correct?
Not when I first got home.
And in fact, I think your testimony was that 10 minutes after you got home, he opened the bedroom door?
I think that's what I said, yeah.
Do you want to stick with that?
I'm just trying to
We
recollect
have ring footage
what I,
from inside your house.
thinking it over, so obviously it was a little bit longer.
Because you actually woke up when he opened the bedroom door, correct?
I don't think so.
did you not just testify before this jury just, I don't know, maybe an hour ago, that you fell asleep and that your son Colin opened the bedroom door and woke you up to say goodnight?
Yeah, I guess that's what I said.
Okay. And when you testified to that on direct examination, that was when Mr. Lally was asking you questions, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that you were under oath at that time, correct?
Correct.
And you were trying to be as accurate as possible, correct?
Trying to be, correct.
All right. So in terms of the timing of this, assuming that he opened the bedroom door after you already fell asleep, if you're getting home upstairs to your bedroom around 12:20 and it takes you 15 minutes to go to bed, and that's around 12:35, then sometime after you're asleep, after 12:35, that's when Colin opens the bedroom door, correct?
I don't remember exactly.
Well, it's difficult for you to remember how long you'd been asleep for when Colin opened the bedroom door, correct?
Correct.
You don't know if it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or longer, correct?
I don't know exactly.
Right. But it was some time after you fell asleep.
To the best of my recollection.
Now, with regard to your son Colin, he obviously lived in the same neighborhood as John O'Keefe, because that's where your family lived, correct?
Correct.
And back in 2022, Colin Albert was 17 years old?
Correct. Part of the year.
And you knew that, like most teenagers, Colin drank alcohol with his buddies, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain for the jury who or what is Nebercracker?
What is Nebercracker?
Yes.
Like the character?
That's what I'm asking.
It's a character in a cartoon called Monster House.
And would you agree with me that Nebercracker in the movie Monster House was this kind of old curmudgeon who didn't want anybody on his lawn, correct?
The character, yes.
He was the get off my lawn guy, correct?
In the movie, yeah.
What was your nickname and your wife Julie's nickname for John O'Keefe?
Mr. Nebercracker.
All right. And your wife Julie actually had John O'Keefe plugged into his contacts as Nebercracker, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you were there one time when Julie showed Karen Reed, her phone to show how John O'Keefe was plugged in as Nebercracker, correct?
I believe so.
And this whole nickname started because of a conflict that Colin Albert had with John O'Keefe. Correct?
Not correct.
John O'Keefe complained to you about things that Colin was doing.
Not correct.
He would tell you that Colin used to throw beer cans or beer bottles in his bushes, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
No, you can answer that. What's your answer to that?
That is not correct.
John O'Keefe told you that Colin used to flip him off, correct?
Not correct.
And say F you to him.
Never.
Colin used to cut through his yard.
Nope, that was Dylan.
You knew that John didn't like people cutting through his yard, correct?
No, I don't know that to be true.
Okay. So is it your testimony that John O'Keefe invited kids to cut through his lawn all the time?
I don't understand. Is that a question?
It was a question. I guess let me withdraw that and ask this. If John O'Keefe is Nebercracker, and he's the get off your lawn guy, are you denying that he doesn't like people cutting through his lawn?
Do you want me to, can I explain?
I just asked for an answer to my question. Mr. Lally will get up after I'm done, and I'm sure you can explain whatever you want.
So no, he's not no.
All right. Well, you would agree with me that there was a time when John O'Keefe was not home, that you and your wife Julie went to his house.
That is correct.
And you entered onto his property, correct?
On his front property, yes.
And you had drinks in your hand.
Correct.
And you thought it would be funny to have a photo taken of you and your wife with drinks in your hand on his property, correct?
Correct.
And you knew it would be funny because you knew it would annoy him, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh, you can go ahead. Can you answer that?
Yeah, he was actually asking us to watch his house while he was away.
Right, but that doesn't answer my question, which was, he didn't ask you to go onto his property with drinks in your hand and take a photo, correct?
He asked us to watch his property.
Okay, but again, in answer to my question, the answer is no, he did not ask us to go on his property and take pictures of ourselves with drinks in our hand, correct?
Yeah, he didn't ask me to send him a photo.
All right. And you would agree with me that Nevercracker wouldn't like a photo of somebody on his lawn with drinks in their hands, correct?
The cartoon character, Nevercracker?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain. Next question, please.
Relevance.
Sustain.
I have the photo.
We're now going to watch an excerpt from a movie, Monster House. It's relevant, I promise.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Okay.
Sir, does this appear
Mr.
to be
Albert,
the
I
cover
place
of the Monster House
two
DVD?
photographs before you. If you could take a look at those and tell the jury if you recognize what they depict.
I do.
What do those photos depict?
It's me and my wife straddling John's fence. We're giving a thumbs up in one of them and a smile in another one.
Okay. And you say John's fence, so that's actually on John's property, correct?
Part of it is, yeah. I mean, I don't know what the easement is from the street to the fence as ownership goes, but yeah.
All right.
I know the town owns a certain portion of it.
Would you agree with me that that photo was taken in April of 2021?
I'm not sure when it was taken, but if that's what you have for a date, then it's fine.
Okay. Who took that picture?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Where was your son Colin that night when you had that picture taken?
I have no idea.
Would you agree with me that you texted those photos, or somebody texted those photos, whether it was you or your wife Julie, to John O'Keefe?
Absolutely.
And offer those, are those a fair and accurate representation of the photos that you took?
Yeah.
All right. I would offer those, Your Honor.
All right. Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
No objection. We're about to see them straddling a fence in his yard. I'm not sure,
And
guys.
with the
Buckle
court
up.
permission, may they be published for the jury?
Okay.
Cameraman, you get on this right now. Get on this. Get over there. We want every moment of this.
With regard to that first photo, is that, well, first of all, whose house is that in the background?
That's John's.
And that is you on the right and your wife Julie on the left?
Correct.
We have the second photo, please. Okay. That is also John's house in the background there?
Correct.
And again, that's you on the right and Julie on the left, correct?
Correct.
Okay, we can take that photo now. Now, would you agree with me that those photos give some context to the text that you sent him on January 28th when you were trying to get him to come out and you threatened to, quote, fuck up his lawn if he didn't come out that night?
Missed it.
What do you mean give context to?
Well, in other words, here you are texting him photos of you and your wife on his lawn, correct?
Yes.
And that's a common theme that explains the January 28th text where you were threatening to fuck up his lawn, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
Okay.
I just have one more area that I want to cover with you, sir. You previously confirmed that when you walked in your door on January 29th of 2022 after coming home from the waterfall, your son Colin was not home, correct?
That's correct.
At that time, you had no personal knowledge of where he had been that night, correct?
That's correct.
Since that time, you know that he was at your brother Brian's house that night, Brian Albert.
That's correct.
Your old home, correct?
Where I grew up, yep.
And you knew that address to be 34 Fairview Road?
Correct.
And you knew that that was the same house outside which John O'Keefe was found dead later that morning, correct?
Correct.
I may have a moment.
Sure.
Okay, they're pointing the finger of blame without saying so at Mr. Albert's son. And they are vigorously fighting against that story.
Just one other question, sir. When you spoke to Trooper Proctor on February 10th of 2022, you would agree with me that you never mentioned that Colin Albert was at your brother Brian's house that night, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh,
I don't remember.
all right. Thank you. Brief redirect.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Albert, you were asked some questions about being a selectman. Were you a selectman at the time on January 28, 2022?
No.
About how long after that was it that you became?
Sometime in April that the election was over. April, second week in April, maybe?
So that photograph that you were shown with respect to yourself and the,
So he's been in for a couple of
Chief
years?
Berkowitz of the Kin Police, when was that?
It was a fundraiser, so it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks before the election. So January, February, March something, end of March maybe?
So well after January 28, 2022?
Yes.
And you were asked some questions about your brother selling the house. Now, prior to your brother selling the house, you had sold your house, correct?
Correct.
And why was that?
Why was that?
Yeah.
It just made sense for us. You know, it was just a financial decision.
Kids were getting older, is that correct?
Yeah.
One was in the Navy.
Yep.
Another was about to go to college.
Correct.
And what, if any, relation did that have to your brother selling the house?
So once he found out that I was selling
Objection.
No, I'm going to allow it.
Once he found out I was selling my house, he decided that it might be a good idea for him to sell his house. His kids were getting older. So I gave him my real estate's number, the guy who sold my house.
And that selling of the house, was that something that you would discuss with your brother prior to January 28, 2022?
Yeah, soon after.
Okay, let's move on from that.
Now, with regards, to your son Colin when he came home that night, you indicated that it was about 10 minutes after. Now, was that 10 minutes after you arrived home or 10 minutes after you got into bed?
10 minutes after I jumped into bed.
Now, with reference to your son Colin, he came home, you saw him that night, correct?
When he came home?
Yes.
Yeah, he just leaned his head in the door.
And when he leaned his head in the door, did you, similar to what I had asked you about Mr. O'Keefe, did you observe any sort of injuries or anything like that to his face?
No.
Saw your son the next day as well?
Yes.
Did you observe any injuries to him at any point
None.
in time? And you mentioned that you went over to your brother Brian Albert's house and both he and Mr. Higgins were there, correct?
Correct.
as far as your interactions with both Brian Albert and Brian Higgins that following day, what, if any, injuries did you observe on them?
None.
Now, with regard to the Nevercracker, what was sort of the origination of that?
It's a joke. It's so my son Dylan, who is my littlest one, he was cutting across John's lawn one day, coming home from the school, walking. This is before John had a fence that went this way, like on Pleasant Street. So it would just cut off like a couple of minutes. He ran across John's lawn one day. This is my littlest son, who I don't even know at the time. He might have been like 9, 10. I'm not sure exactly how old he was. And John yelled something to him, "Hey, kid, get off my lawn." So John was just making a joke. So Dylan got scared. He ran home and told my wife, Julie, and then Julie in turn called, called Jen maybe and said, "Hey, John just yelled at Dylan." And I think Jen reached out to John, and John felt terrible. And John came down the street. John asked what kind of candy Dylan liked, and John brought Dylan a bag of candy and just said, "Hey, I was just kidding." It was just, so from that point on, we called him Mr. Nevercracker, and it was a joke between John. John thought it was funny. And
now, as far as those photographs that you indicated that you took on his fence, sent to him when he was away, is that correct?
Correct.
And that was after he'd asked you to watch his house while he was away?
Yeah.
And how did he respond to those photographs?
He thought it was hilarious. We actually showed him, other people, that photo too. They thought it was funny.
All right, we're going to wrap it up, Mr. Allen.
One last question, Your Honor. So after you sent the text message as far as to come over here and then made the reference to his lawn, Mr. O'Keefe then came over to the water?
Yeah, he came over after.
Nothing further.
Nothing further. All right, you are all set, Mr. Albert.
Thank you.
Jurors, we're going to take a recess. It's not going to be just sitting there like the jurors are. It's not going to be too long because we're going to end around 12.
If the witness would just stay where you are.
Yeah, please stay.
Sorry.
That's okay. So,
jurors, if you'd fold your notebooks, please stay on your chairs. Follow me. All right, here we go.
So, Paul, about a 10-minute break because I want to get more testimony in. Okay.
All right, we are muted. We've got a quick break. Let's go right here for a minute. He's answering the questions before it's finished. You might be able to hear something over the static. Interesting testimony. Not sure if I believe everything he said, but I'm not sure if the little parts we got, maybe it'll mean more later in as far as the timeline with the son, when he came in, things when we start hearing some of more the dates and times of the party and what happened when and where. So I will tell you, we have a short day. We might have an hour left at that. So here we go.
Please be seated. Close back session.
So we don't compete directly with some
Mr. Lally,
channels
next witness,
that we really
please.
like.
May we approach before the next witness is called, Your Honor?
Okay.
Got to refill the cup before the next witness. Paul, Brandy Churchwell is covering this live, and she's done a ton of research. She's got an amazing podcast on this, going into the depths of all the background on this. So podcast, live commentary as well. She's doing a great job. I have a ton of respect for her. I'm not going to cover this live as a result of that. So if you want to watch it live, I'd suggest her channel would be a great one to choose. We do also share a lot of common members in our communities. I will say just briefly that we lost one of those members in the community this last week.
All right, so Mr. Lally, who's your next witness?
Call Ms. Julie Albert to the stand.
Okay.
We're going to pause for just a second. If you know Shireen, she was a supporter of both Brandy and this channel here, and we heard that she passed away after complications from surgery. I wasn't planning on saying anything about it, but I've asked to send my condolences to her family and her son. I don't know details beyond that. All I know is that the husband actually reached out to one of our mutual mods and shared that, and Brandy shared a little bit as well on her channel. But I just want to say thanks for being a place where people want to come, where people find comfort in family and friends. So prayers as well to her and her family. So thank you all. I wanted to pass that on. I don't know how else to share it, honestly. Heartbroken for them, but appreciate that. Let's jump back into following the case here. Just one second. We're calling the wife now of the previous witness.
Please make standing face to face.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the evidence you give the court and jury in the case now and here should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Julie Albert, A-L-B-E-R-T.
And where do you live, ma'am?
I live at 22 Maple Street in Canton.
And,
all the addresses
how long
are
have
out
you
there,
lived?
sorry.
A little over 2 years.
And how long in total have you lived in Canton?
My whole life. 48 years.
And where did you live just prior to living on Maple?
I lived at 7 Meadows Avenue in Canton.
And how long a period of time did you live at 7 Meadows Avenue?
15 plus 20 years, about 20 years.
And do you have kids?
Yes, I have 3 boys.
And are you married?
Yes, I am.
And what's your husband's name?
Christopher Albert.
And your 3 boys, how old are you?
My oldest, Christopher, is 25. My second son, Colin, is 20. And my youngest son, Dylan, is 16.
And do each of them, where do they live? Do they live with you?
They all live with me, yes.
And your husband, does he work?
Yes.
What does he do?
He owns a restaurant in Canton.
What's the name of the restaurant?
D&E Pizza.
And where is that?
What does that stand for?
618 Washington Street.
D&E.
Now, when you lived on Meadows Avenue, can you describe to the jury sort of, if you know, about how many houses are on Meadows?
I would say maybe 8 on each side.
And Meadows comes out to a main road, is that correct?
Yes, Pleasant Street.
Okay. And while you were living on Meadows Avenue, did you have occasion to come to know someone by the name of John O'Keefe?
Yes, I did.
And where did John live in relation to you?
John's house was at the top of the street, and there was 2 houses between John's house and my house.
And if you recall, about how long had you known John O'Keefe, or when did he move into Meadows?
I think he moved in 2017-ish, maybe. And I've probably known him since maybe 2019.
And how would you describe sort of your relationship with John O'Keefe?
We were friendly. We were neighbors. You know, I'd see him all the time coming in and out of the street, and because he's at the top of the street when I pulled out of the street. And we were friendly.
And in addition to you knowing Mr. O'Keefe, were there other sort of people that knew you that also knew him?
Yes, yes.
Who were some of those people?
Well, I knew John through Jennifer McCabe.
And who is Jennifer McCabe?
She's one of my closest friends.
Now, you knew that John had 2 children that he was guardian for?
Yes.
And you were familiar with both his niece and his nephew?
Yes.
Now, at some point through Mr. O'Keefe, did you come to know somebody by the name of Karen Reed?
Yes.
When about was it that you met Ms. Reed?
She's giving a lot of
maybe
snap
in
answers.
like 2021, like, you know, pulling in and out of the street if they were outside, if, you know, a couple times out socially, probably in 2021, I would say.
And if you could, just so we're clear, do you see Ms. Reed in the courtroom?
Yes, between her lawyers right over there.
That's a record of like identification presented
Okay.
by the witness. Now, on some social occasions that you were talking about, when you would see them out, would you have occasion to socially interact with Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Is that something that like you and your husband did together, or was it more of a group setting type?
No, a group setting.
And with reference to, did you have occasions where you would socially hang out or interact with Mr. O'Keefe in which Ms. Reed wasn't there?
I can only honestly remember one time, and that was, I don't even know if they were together at the time.
And had you ever socially interacted or spent time with Ms. Reed separate and apart from Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
Now, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that day?
Yes.
Do you recall what day of the week it was?
Friday.
And what, if anything, did you have plans for that particular evening?
The next day was my nephew's birthday. So we were all, a bunch of us were going to go out that night, the night before, to a bar in Canton.
And by the night before, you mean the night before his birthday?
Yes.
And that nephew, what was that nephew's name?
Brian Jr.
And if you know about how old was he turning, or how, well, let me start with this. How old is he now?
He's 24.
So just turned 24 a few months ago?
January, yep.
And so he would have been turning, what, 22 at that point?
Yes.
When we say we had plans to sort of go out, who was the we?
Myself, his mother, Nicole, my niece, Caitlin, and a couple of Brian's friends.
Now, and you mean Brian Jr.'s friends?
Yes.
Okay. And so Brian Albert Jr. has a mother named Nicole Albert, is that correct?
Yes.
And how is she related to you?
She's my sister-in-law. Our husbands are brothers.
So your husband Christopher has a brother?
Brian.
Brian, okay. And that would be sort of
Brian Sr.
For lack of a better term?
Yep.
Your husband Christopher, how many siblings does he have?
6.
And Brian is the oldest?
The oldest, yes.
And so there were plans to go out that evening, the day before Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday, correct?
Yes.
And what were the plans? What did they sort of consist of?
We were just going to go to Waterfall.
And is Waterfalls, where is it?
It's a bar in Canton on Washington Street.
And from your husband's pizza shop at D&E to the Waterfall, about how far away are the two from each other?
Very close. I mean, 200 steps maybe. You can, very, very close.
200 steps.
Same side of the street or
No, opposite sides.
Okay. Now, when it came to that day, where did you go? Did you go to the Waterfall first or somewhere else, or if you know?
I went to my sister-in-law Nicole's house to pick her up.
And do you know the address where your sister-in-law and your brother-in-law live?
34 Fairview, where they lived, 34 Fairview Road.
And that was somewhere that you had been numerous occasions before?
Yes.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview Road, you went inside the house?
I think I went inside for a moment, yeah, just to wait.
And do you know who, if anyone, did you see in there that you knew or recognized or didn't recognize?
I know my niece Caitlin was in there, my nephew Brian. I don't recall. I don't recall who else was in there.
Your sister-in-law Nicole, was she there?
Yeah, she was ready to leave. Yep.
And when you left, I'm using sort of you in the plural, so you drove, is that correct?
I drove. Yep.
And who, if anyone, went along with you in your car?
Nicole, my sister-in-law, and Caitlin, my niece. And Brian did not end up coming with us.
And so your nephew Brian, for whom you had initially made the plans to go out to celebrate, didn't end up coming?
Correct.
And why was that?
I don't think he was feeling up to it.
And if you know about what time was it that you picked your sister-in-law and your niece up and then went to work?
I don't remember exactly, but I would probably say between maybe 7:30 and 8, 7:30, like around 7:30 maybe.
And you arrive at the waterfall, you go in. If you could just explain for the jury sort of when you walk into the door of the waterfall, where was it that the three of you went?
When you walk into the door, there's a couple high-top tables, long high-top tables in front of you, and we just sat down at a high-top table right when you walk through the door.
Now, from your experience either that evening or prior evenings, on certain nights, does the waterfall have any kind of sort of entertainment?
Yeah, they always have, every week's different. They have bands.
And from your recollection, was there a band there that night?
Yes, there was.
And do you recall where you were seated in relation to the band?
I was sitting at the end of the high-top table closest to the door that you walk in, and the band was to the right of me against a wall in kind of like an alcove, like a little against a wall.
And when you went there, was the band already sort of set up and playing, or did that happen later?
I think they set up while we were there, I think.
And so initially when you go there, do you go there and just have drinks, or did you eat something, or what?
We ate, and yeah.
And while you were there, as far as during sort of the meal portion of it, was there anyone else that joined you?
I know my niece's boyfriend, Tristan Morris, came. I don't remember exactly when it was during that, but I know he was there. And then during the meal part, I don't think during the meal part anyone else, I don't think.
So you recall, as far as the meal part was concerned, it's you, your sister-in-law Nicole, your niece Caitlin, and her boyfriend Tristan Morris.
Correct.
And Mr. Morris, did he stay for any extended period of time, or when was it that he left?
I know he stayed for a little bit, but I honestly can't remember what time exactly he left.
Now, your husband, was he working on that day?
Yes, he was.
And had you been in communication with him as to where you were going to be?
Yes.
And so the plan was basically for him to meet you at the waterfall when he was done with work?
Correct, yes.
And if you know about what time was it that your husband, Christopher, came over to the waterfall?
Maybe not 9:30, 10, maybe. I don't remember exactly.
Just
yeah.
You know approximate time.
Yeah.
So at some time around 9:30 or so, your husband, Christopher, comes over to the waterfall?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did he do when he got there?
I came in, yeah.
He came in. Did he get anything to eat, anything to drink?
Yeah, he probably ordered a drink and just stood by the table, I would think.
And you and the people in your group, were you drinking that night?
Yes.
What is it? Do you recall specifically what you had to drink?
I think I had just a couple glasses of wine.
And your husband, do you recall specifically what he had that night?
What he would drink is Miller Lite.
Okay. And that's sort of typically what he would drink when he was out?
Yes.
Okay. And your sister-in-law, Nicole, do you recall what she was drinking?
I would assume White Claw, a White Claw.
And same question with regard to your niece, Kate.
Yes, probably White Claw as well.
Now, while you were there, who, if any, so after your husband came in, who, if anyone else, sort of came in and joined the group that you were with?
My brother-in-law, Brian Albert, and his friend, Brian Higgins.
And obviously you know your brother-in-law, Brian Albert, correct? And
Is that yes?
You know...
Yes.
Thank you, Michael. You just have to answer obviously. So, did you know Mr. Higgins as well?
Yes.
And how did you know Mr. Higgins?
I just know him from being friends with my brother-in-law.
So you knew him just sort of through your brother-in-law, Brian, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you know when they arrived in relation to when your husband, Christopher, arrived?
I don't recall.
But some point after, correct?
Yes.
Then after they arrived, who, if anyone else, do you recall sort of arriving and joining in your group?
Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe. And there was a couple, I don't even know their name, Colakitis. They arrived. I don't know their first names. And John and Karen arrived shortly after that.
And just so we can clear up people, as far as Jennifer McCabe, you've already mentioned her, and Matthew, was that her husband?
Yes.
And the other couple that you were talking about, or sort of guessing their names, had you ever met them before?
No. Nope.
Not anybody that you're particularly friends with or anything like that?
No. I know them, who they are, from seeing them maybe at a sporting event or something, but I've never been introduced to them. No.
And when you say sort of sporting events in relation to what?
If they were at like a basketball game and I was at a game, like I've just seen them around. I'm assuming probably sporting events, probably a basketball game.
And I'm sure it's pretty well understood with this. I just want to clarify. So when you say sporting events, these are kids' sporting events?
Kids' sporting events, yes.
And so which kids' sporting events would you be at that you would see this couple that you didn't know before? Your kids or somebody?
No, Jennifer McCabe's kids.
Okay. So you would go to sporting events for Jennifer McCabe's kids and see this couple there?
Yes.
And if you know about how long after Brian Albert and Mr. Higgins arrived, did the McCabe's and this other couple arrive?
I don't remember exactly.
But after Mr. Albert and Mr. Higgins, correct?
Correct.
Now then, you mentioned Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed came in at some point as well?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make sure you say yes or no, okay? And the other thing you say, I assume or I guess, don't answer. If you don't know, you don't.
Okay.
And if you know, about what time was it that Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed came?
Before 11 o'clock?
Simon's good one. Okay. And with reference to when Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, Ms. Reed, came into the waterfall, where were you in relation to sort of the high top table that you were describing?
I was at the top of the high top table closest to the door.
And when they came in, where did Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant go?
John walked in and said hello and kept on walking, I think, to the bar. And Karen came in and stopped at the table to talk for a minute.
And during the time that she stopped at the table to talk for a minute, what, if anything, did she do?
She opened her jacket and had a glass and pulled the glass out and started drinking the drink.
And as far as the drink in the glass, what, if anything, did you observe as far as color or anything like that?
Clear.
And the glass that she had, could you see, so the clear liquid inside it, how much of the glass was full of that?
I don't recall.
I think it's safe to assume it's not water.
She placed it on the
She
table, is that
smuggled it in.
correct?
Yes.
And what was your reaction to that?
I think I laughed and said, made a comment like, you're crazy or something, just because she walked in with the glass.
Now, did you know where Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed had been coming from prior to them getting to the waterfall?
Yes.
And where were they coming from?
CF McCarthy's.
You're familiar with that establishment as well?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to the waterfall?
It's maybe 200 steps right next to my husband's restaurant.
Everything's
So on
200
same
steps
side
away.
of
Opposite side. Opposite side.
On the same side of Washington Street as your husband's restaurant?
Yes.
Okay. In the same vicinity from D&E to Waterfall, CF McCarthy's
Yes.
Water?
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
All the questions, yes.
Over the course of the evening, did you have occasion to see Mr. O'Keefe? If he was at a bar, he had something to drink, is that correct?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. Over the course of the evening, did you have occasion to observe what, if anything, Mr. O'Keefe was drinking?
No, I don't believe. I left very shortly after they got there.
And so you left fairly shortly after they arrived?
Yes,
Okay. And if you know, about how much time are we talking?
maybe 10, 15 minutes.
And why is it that you left?
I had a terrible migraine.
From the van being so close?
Yes,
And when you left, where did you go?
home.
And when you got home, as far as your children on that evening, who was home, who was out, if you know?
My youngest son was home, and my oldest son didn't live at home. He lived in California at the time. And my middle son was not home.
And so your oldest son, Christopher, he was in the Navy at that point?
He was in the Navy, and he was stationed in San Diego, yes.
And so your middle son, Colin, he was out. Did you know where he was?
Yes, he was at, I believe, his friend Michael Leonetti's house.
And at some point, did you learn that Colin had gone from that person's house to somewhere else?
Yes,
Is this him communicating with you?
yes,
And that other place that he went to, do you know where that was?
yes. My brother and sister-in-laws, Nicole and Brian Albert's house on Fairview Road.
And was that in relation to your nephew and his birthday?
Yes.
Now, while you were, if I could take it back to the waterfall just for a second. So while you were at the waterfall, obviously you see Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed come in. Do you recall what Mr. O'Keefe was wearing?
I know he had a hat on, he had jeans on, and he had something with a hood.
And from your observations, did you ever see him with like a winter coat or a jacket or anything like that?
I did not.
And with regard to the clothing that you observed him wearing, what if anything did you observe as far as the condition of that clothing? And that, I mean, was it torn, was it disheveled, anything like that?
No, nothing that I remember.
And with regard to Mr. O'Keefe, as far as his appearance, what if anything did you observe about him as far as injuries or anything like that?
Nothing.
Now, with reference to your group as far as at the waterfall, how would you describe sort of the overall demeanor or tone of the group and what was going on then?
Just normal. I thought it was just normal. Sitting listening to a band.
So at least during the time that you were there were no sort of arguments or disagreements or anything like that?
Nope, nothing.
And specifically to Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, Ms. Reed, while you were there, during the short time that you were there when they were there, did you observe anything as far as any arguments or disagreements or anything like that?
No, I did not.
Now, at the time, so during that time between when they arrived, you mentioned that John went up to the bar, correct?
Yes.
And where did the defendant go?
She talked to me at the top of the table for a few minutes, and then I believe she made her way down the table to either Jennifer McCabe or the couple that was at the end of the table to speak with.
And was it during that period of time that you had enough with the migraine and went home?
Yes, I left very, very shortly after that.
Now, during the time that you were there and you were speaking with the defendant down sort of your end of the table, what, if anything, was discussed as far as sort of where to go, what to do after the waterfall?
I do know that, I do remember, I'm sorry, that Karen had asked if we could go back to D&E, my husband's store, and make pizza, because that's something we frequently do if we're out at the end of the night, if we're hungry.
And was that something that you had discussed with Ms. Reed either on that date or on a prior date?
I believe we discussed just that we went there once, and we said next time she'll have to come with us.
And was that something that was discussed as a possibility or something that was going to happen that night?
I think right away, I just wasn't going to do that because I wasn't feeling well, and I think I might have said talk to Chris because I wasn't going to do it.
And is that something that she mentioned over the course of that evening, once, more than once, or something else?
Just once to me.
So when you get home, at some point, the rest of your family came home at some point in the evening, correct?
Yes,
And who came home first? Your husband, Christopher, or your son, Colin?
my husband.
Do you know about what time that was?
I want to say about after 12, maybe 12:10, around there.
So sometime around 12:10?
Sometime around 12:10, yes.
And what, if anything, do you recall specifically about when your husband, Christopher, came home?
He came upstairs to my room. He was shivering because it was cold out, and he immediately went to the bathroom, got undressed, and got into bed.
And your son, Colin, have you been in communication with
Yes.
him over the evening?
Yes.
And about how long was it after your husband came home that your son, Colin?
10 to 15 minutes.
And
Sorry,
were you
these times are very
essentially
precise.
waiting up for him?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Is that sort of common practice?
Yes, I do not go to bed until my kids are home.
And is there another common practice as far as when your kids come home, where do they go when they first come in?
They immediately will always come in the door, maybe grab a water out of the fridge and come upstairs and give me a kiss goodnight and tell me that they're home.
Now, did that happen on this occasion?
Yes.
And so Colin came into your room at some point?
Yep, he came right upstairs. Yes.
And when Colin came into your room and he came upstairs, did you have occasion to observe him as far as talk to him, obviously?
Yes, we talked for a minute. He asked me if I was feeling better. And yeah, we talked for a moment.
And during that conversation that you had with Colin, similar to what I had asked you with regard to Mr. O'Keefe, what, if any, injuries or anything did you observe on your son, Colin?
None.
And fair to say the next day, at some point, you talked to and had interaction with your son?
Yes.
And what, if any, injuries or anything did you observe?
None. None.
So I know this is sort of hard, so wait till Mr. Lally finishes his question before answering, okay? Thank you.
They both are interrupting to get that answer out.
Now, after your son Colin came home, and you eventually went to bed, is that right?
Yes.
And turning your attention to the next morning, the Saturday morning of the 29th, about what time was it that you woke up?
I woke up about 8-ish.
And with regard to your nephew, Brian Jr., whose birthday it was now on the 29th, what, if any, sort of tradition do you have with respect to him and his birthday?
Every year on his birthday, I go to Dunkin' Donuts. I get him 6 donuts, and I bring them to the house, and I leave them there with a card before he gets up. So when he wakes up, they're there. I've been doing it for years.
And is that what your intention was on this morning as well?
Yes.
And is that what you did on that?
Yes.
Now, when you woke up, probably like most people, at some point did you look at your phone?
Yes.
And when you looked at the screen to your phone, what, if anything, did you see?
I had a missed call from my friend Jen McCabe.
And was there any sort of notation in regard to the missed call as to what time that missed call had come in?
But it was 5:55 maybe?
So sometime earlier in the morning.
Early morning, yes.
And
why is she so precise
beyond
with times?
the missed call, was there any other sort of stamp or notification on the phone as far as a voicemail, text message?
Nope. I'm sorry. No, there was not.
And not from Ms. McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And not from anybody else?
Correct.
And at any point in time on that morning over the phone, did you speak with Ms. McCabe?
No, I did not.
And did you call her, so you didn't call her back or anything like that?
I did not.
And so after you wake up, at some point you go to Dunkin' Donuts and get the 6 donuts?
Yes.
And where did you go with those?
I drove to 34 Fairview.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview, where did you park in relation to the house?
I pulled into the driveway.
And when you came up to the house and you were driving to the house, at this point, what was the weather like at this point?
It was coming down, the snow was coming down pretty good.
And with reference to the house, what, if anything, did you notice out of the ordinary with regard to the house or the street or anything else?
Jennifer McCabe's car was in the driveway.
And as far as any other vehicles on the street or anything like that, what was going on at that point?
I don't recall. I don't.
Nothing you can recall?
No.
About what time was this that you got there?
8:30, 9 o'clock, 8:30, around that.
And when you get there, you pull in the driveway, what did you do?
I opened my car door. I got out to walk to the car in front of me to leave the donuts and card inside my nephew Brian's car. And Brian Albert came to the door. Brian Albert Sr. came to the door, and he told me to come in, asked me to come in for a second. And I said that I didn't need to. And he said, I'm just leaving this gift for Brian Jr. And he said, no, just come in for a second. So I went into the house.
And when you walk into 34 Fairview Road on that morning, if anyone else was there?
Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Jennifer McCabe, and Matt McCabe.
And where were they in relation to the house?
In the kitchen.
And what, if anything, did they tell you at that time?
When I first walked in, nothing. Everyone was just sitting there, and I was looking around, and everyone was visibly upset. And I asked, what's going on? And another maybe 30 seconds went by, and Jen said, something's happened to John. And I said, John, she said, John O'Keefe. And I said, is he okay?
Objection.
No, I'm going to allow it.
Excited utterance.
I said, is he
exception to
okay?
hearsay.
And she said, we don't know. And that was that.
And after hearing that information, how long were you at your brother and sister-in-law's house that night?
Probably about half hour, 45 minutes, maybe.
And where did you go from there?
I went home to wake my husband up to let him know what had happened.
And at some point after you go home and wake up your husband, where did you and your husband go?
We went back to I woke up my husband, told him what had happened, and we went back to Fairview.
And so the second time that you had gone back to Fairview, how long a period of time were you there that time?
I would say probably half hour, not long.
And then after that half hour or so, where'd you go after that?
Back home to my house.
Now, during either of those occasions when you were at 34 Fairview Road on the morning of the 29th, you had occasion to talk and observe Brian Albert Sr., correct?
Yes.
And similar to the questions that I asked you with regard to Mr. O'Keefe and your son Colin, what, if any, injuries or anything out of place did you note with respect to Brian Albert Sr.?
Nothing that I saw.
And, same question with respect to Mr. Higgins, as far as you made observations and spoke at least in the same room as him on that morning?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you observe as far as injuries or anything else on Mr. Higgins?
Nothing.
When you woke up your husband that next morning, your other two sons, being Colin and Dylan, they were at home still?
Yes, they were at home still asleep.
And with regard to when you went to Fairview, came back with your husband, went back to Fairview, and then came back again, were they still asleep?
I don't remember.
You recall, well, let me put it this way. As far as your sons, did either of your sons come back with you to Fairview Road that day?
No, they did not.
And do you recall whether or not either Colin or Dylan was awake when you left the second time to go to Fairview?
I don't.
At some point, a few days after this, did you have occasion to meet with a couple troopers from the state police?
Yes, I did. They came to my home.
And when you say they, how many of them came to you?
There were two.
And you spoke to them that day in reference to what you had observed at the waterfall, everything you just testified.
Yes, I did.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Just one last question. When you, Mrs. Alba, when you came over to Fairview Road that first time with the donuts, as far as the inside of the house, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the condition of the home or anything about the home that seems abnormal or out of place or off, from the evening before when you were there?
Nothing.
I have nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Giannetti?
Thank you.
Here goes the cross.
Good afternoon, Ms. Albert.
Good afternoon.
You and I have never met, correct?
Correct.
Apparently this attorney doesn't get out much, doesn't meet anybody.
And an answer that Mr. Lally asked you and that you responded to. He had just asked you whether or not a few days later you spoke with a couple of state troopers. Do you recall that question?
Yes.
And your answer was yes?
Yes.
You would agree with me that it was more than just a few days later, correct?
I don't know.
It was February 10th of 2022 that two state troopers came to speak with you and your husband, Chris, correct?
Correct.
And so we're talking about 13 days later, almost 2 weeks later, correct?
If that was the date, yes, correct.
Prior to February 10th, no investigator from this case bothered to talk to you or your husband, correct?
Correct.
Now, in terms of the two investigators who did come, you knew one of them quite well, did you not?
I knew them. I wouldn't say quite well, but I knew them.
Okay, and when you say you knew them?
Him. I'm sorry, him.
Okay. And who was it that you knew?
Michael Proctor.
Michael Proctor was the brother of one of your close friends, correct?
Correct.
You're close friends with Courtney Proctor, correct?
I am.
And by the way, your maiden name is Daniels, correct?
Yes, it is.
And you have a sister, Jill Daniels, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you would agree that Jill Daniels is also lifelong best friends with Courtney Proctor, correct?
Yes, she is.
And in terms of your relationship with Courtney Proctor, you socialize with her, do you not?
Objection.
Do you?
Occasionally, yes.
Go out for drinks with her, correct?
Yes.
You've attended parties with her, correct?
Yes.
You've also provided child care for her children, correct?
Yes.
Objection. Move to strike.
All right, I'll see you at sidebar on this, Mr. Giannetti.
You've also provided child care for her children, correct? Objection. Move to strike. Sidebar. Apparently, the babysitting connection is a bridge too far for the prosecution. But a lot of yeses in a row. Like, yeah, oh yeah, we know each other. We go way back. We party. We hang out. We do all the things. While we're waiting here, I just want to let you know that that on the calendar for today, this afternoon, which because we have a short day today, there is a possibility. There's a possibility of a Brian Kohberger hearing. Well, it's going to happen. The hearing's going to happen. But this is one that was been debated between the judge and the two sides. The judge wants to start the hearing closed, and then he might open it during the hearing. I'm not holding out hope, but there's a possibility that we could suddenly, and the way he does this, there's no warning, just suddenly have a live Kohberger hearing that we're going to try to grab. So once this is over, I'm basically going to be recording, be watching for that clicking and recording as soon as that becomes available, if it does. The hearing itself, for those that are curious, this is the May 14th hearing at 1:30. Motion to compel. The state wants it closed. Defense wants it open. This is a hearing regarding the IGG. IJG, IGJ, I don't know which one it was. The judge may open the hearing. During the hearing, there are going to be a couple witnesses as well. So, we did cover the Judge Simpson shenanigans, and I posted the video, just a standalone video of more shenanigans of him just on the channel. But I don't know how it ended. I didn't see the ending of it. I think it is Eastern. I don't know if somebody could find the date, the time for BK for that hearing. It's probably going to be closed. But if it is open, I'm going to try to grab it because I've got the ability to quickly record if needed, and have it available. So, because there's going to be no warning. We'll also say that I've been warned that word, the word that comes out in testimony, that we have to watch out for, is about to come out. So I've got my beep finger ready, but I haven't heard it. Like I haven't pre-watched this. So there's a word that I don't know. Like I don't even know how to pronounce the word that is going to be said on the stand here in this trial from this witness in cross-examination. I will tell you, it's while she's trying to say somebody's last name and she gets it wrong, very wrong. I'm gonna try to beep it. And Amber's gonna try to zero out anybody who tries to type it in chat. Amber, can you add it to our banned words list? Thank you. Adam, this is as close as we're going to allow. Okay, thank you. It's already on there. Excellent. Lenova, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate it. Thanks for the unicorn. Rob would approve. I think we can just leave that word on there for good. Yeah, I've never heard of the word before. Oh, Vicky, you're right. I put it on Twitter, but I didn't put it on my YouTube channel. It was just the judge coming down on a lawyer. That's the only. I don't have the before or after. It's just the judge portion. Yeah, don't. Let me say this. Don't Google it. Don't let your curiosity get the best of you and be like, oh, I'm just gonna do a quick check. No, you don't want to. You don't want to. You don't want the cookie on your computer that will forever influence things when you search on Google because of what you searched as well. DSN, thanks for gifting a membership. Still not Googling it, says Melissa. I'll see if I can post it on YouTube.
So, Ms. Albert, you provided child care for Courtney Proctor's children?
Oh, it's allowed. It's allowed.
Need a time frame, Mr. Ayden.
Have you ever provided child care for Courtney Proctor's children?
Objection.
So you need a time frame.
Prior to?
Before January of 2022, did you provide child care for Courtney Proctor's children?
Yes.
When?
$2019.
Just that 1 year?
Yeah, it was pre-COVID. And then when COVID happened and everything shut down, I wasn't helping her any longer.
Okay.
And then occasionally after, I would help just on an as-needed basis.
Okay.
After COVID.
And during that year of 2019, how often did you watch her children?
2 days a week.
And she had a boy and a girl?
Correct.
What were their names?
Jack and Caroline.
And Jack and Caroline were Trooper Proctor's niece and nephew, correct?
Yes.
The Proctor family entrusted you with the care of their children, correct?
Objection.
It's sustained as asked.
You know that Michael Proctor is a state trooper, correct?
Yes.
You knew that he also was from Canton?
Yes.
You knew his wife, Elizabeth Proctor?
Yes.
And you were also aware that Courtney Proctor had recommended you to also watch Michael Proctor and Elizabeth Proctor's children, correct?
Objection. Move to strike.
That objection sustained.
But you go back a long way with Courtney Proctor, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you were certainly at her wedding, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your son was a ring bearer at that wedding.
Objection.
All right, so we'll sustain that through this witness.
You've spent time at Michael Proctor's childhood home, have you not?
Yes.
You've been to the pool at the Proctor's house, correct?
Yes.
How close were they connected? I heard something about a pool photo.
May we approach?
Sidebar. The judge wants to see all evidence that is going to be presented to a witness for impeachment purposes prior to doing it to the witness. The judge wants her finger in the pie. It's either a pool or a pole. There's a pool or a pole picture. I'm not sure which one would be more scandalous in this situation. But friends, buddies, sweethearts, I don't know. Was there a relationship? Just close friends, bikinis and BBQ? Why did she sustain you went to their wedding? Relevance? Your son was a ring bearer at the wedding. Relevance? She said, I'll sustain it through this witness. Sidebar solo cup refills happening now. The defense is having to work for this information. They really are. And they've had that little jab already in the previous witness saying, you weren't told by the prosecution that this would come out in court, right? You didn't know, they didn't show you this picture. Almost like they're saying the prosecution didn't provide this. They didn't go that far. But this is something we've uncovered. An interview 13 days after. Karen is busy lip reading right now. She's following the conversation entirely. Super involved in her own defense as well. Which is pretty cool.
How many times have you been to the Proctor's pool?
You better tell the truth.
I'd say maybe a dozen.
And you've certainly taken your children there as well?
Yes.
Colin has been to the Proctor's pool?
Yes.
And you've seen Michael Proctor's mother and father at that pool, correct?
Yes.
You've seen Courtney Proctor and her husband at that pool, correct?
Yes.
You are very close with Courtney Proctor, correct?
How would you define very?
Well, I guess I'd ask you to define very close. Do you deny that you were very close with Courtney Proctor?
No, what?
Objection, Your Honor.
No, go ahead, next question. You got your answer.
I didn't hear the answer.
Go ahead, repeat that.
Do you deny that you were very close with Courtney Proctor?
No.
Okay. You talk regularly, correct?
Yes.
You text each other, correct?
Yes.
You also talk by phone?
Very rarely.
Is it fair to... Did you say very rarely you talk
phone?
to Proctor by phone?
Usually it's text.
But Do you stand by that testimony that you talked to Courtney Proctor very rarely by phone?
Do we have a time frame? Do you mean now, or do you mean then?
Let me ask you this.
This is coming in. Let's see.
Between February 1st of 2022 and September 6th of 2022, did you only speak rarely with Courtney Proctor?
I don't recall.
Were you using Courtney Proctor as an intermediary to communicate with Michael Proctor about this case?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No, I was not.
Are you aware that between February 1st of 2022 and September 6th of 2022, you and Courtney Proctor spoke by phone 67 times?
Objection.
Were you aware of that?
No, I don't know the exact count.
Do you deny that you spoke 67 times?
I don't deny it, but I don't recall the exact amount of times.
Okay, so you don't deny that you spoke 67 times. You still want to maintain your testimony that you only talked very rarely with Courtney Proctor during that time period.
I just don't remember the exact amount of times.
Well, you know that my client, Karen Reed, was arrested in connection with this case on February 1st of 2022, do you not?
I do.
You spoke to Courtney Proctor that date for 12 minutes by phone, correct?
I don't recall exactly. I don't remember exactly.
I don't remember exactly. That's the key word. That's the key word when you say exactly. That means I remember, but there's bits that I don't want to say that I remember.
May I approach?
Sure.
Before I approach, your memory's exhausted as to whether you spoke to Courtney Proctor that day, and if so, how long the two of you spoke?
Yes.
It's just exhausted.
Sure.
Sure.
I'm showing you a document with a number of...
Just show it to her.
Right, no, I just wanted to point out which one that I'm pointing out. So the third, I was thinking a number of lines. The third line down, if you would take a look at that specific date and time and see if that refreshes your memory about whether and how long you spoke to Courtney Proctor on February 1st of 2022.
Can you see that, or do you need glasses?
No, I can see it.
I do have a pair of readers that I need as well if you need to borrow them.
Yes, if I could.
Of course.
Thank you. I left mine downstairs.
I just got these, and it's like
Mr. Yannetti, just bring them up, please.
It took me a while to figure them out, but anyway.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Got a pair of readers. We're swapping glasses here.
It's the third line down.
Third line down. Yes, I see it. I don't recall.
Okay.
It's a long time ago. Thank you.
And you say that having seen this record, it does not refresh your memory that you spoke to Courtney Proctor for...
Don't. It does not refresh your memory. That's where you have to leave.
Okay. Did Courtney Proctor tell you the day of my client's arrest on February 1st that she had been discussing the case with her brother that day?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you speak to Courtney Proctor that day in any fashion?
What day exactly?
The day of my client's arrest on February 1st of 2022.
That was on the sheet you just gave me?
It was.
Well, I did, obviously, if it was on that sheet.
Okay. And when you talked to her, did she tell you that she had discussed the case with her brother?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you notified that Karen was going to be arrested?
Objection.
Sustained.
What did you discuss?
I don't recall.
The next day, February 2nd of 2022, was the day that my client was arraigned back in Stoughton District Court. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
You spoke to Courtney Proctor 3 times that day before my client's publicly televised arraignment at 9 a.m. Did you not?
Again, I don't remember.
After the arraignment, you spoke to her again for 27 minutes, beginning at 10:58 a.m. Did you not?
I don't recall.
Okay. So your testimony is, well, strike that. My client's arrest was pretty big news in Massachusetts, wasn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were aware that my client had been arrested, correct?
Yes, I had seen it on the news.
You were aware that she was being arraigned the very next day, were you not?
Yes.
This case involved your family, did it not?
How do you mean it?
Well, you knew that John O'Keefe was found dead on your brother-in-law, Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
Correct.
So necessarily, your family was involved in this case, correct?
Somewhat, yes.
And you knew that ultimately you'd probably be talked to by investigators from this case, correct?
I assume so, yes.
Right. Didn't happen for 13 days, but ultimately they did come, correct?
Yes.
All right. So this case had to have been pretty big news within the Albert family, was it not?
Well, yes. Yes.
You were discussing it with your husband, correct?
Yes.
You were discussing it with your other relatives, correct?
Yes.
You were discussing it with your friends, correct?
I don't know about my friends, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it your testimony that with all of this going on, you confined your discussions about this case just to your specific family members?
Not necessarily.
No. I mean, clearly, you would have talked to Courtney Proctor about this, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. So, folks, why don't we end here, all right? Ms. Albert, you'll have to be back tomorrow for your glasses. And jurors, the 3 cautions, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. I'll see counsel at sidebar while the jurors do. Thank you very much.
Jurors is closing your notebooks and leaving.
Jury out. Jury out. Goodbye. I'm not buying it. Here's what I don't buy. I don't buy that she can remember at nighttime that her husband came home at 12:10 that night, and that her son came in, as he always does, 10 minutes later, and poked her head in and gave her a kiss and said, "Hey, I'm home, I'm safe, everything's good, don't worry about me." And she checked him over, made sure there was no injuries from a fight or anything like that. And now she has no recollection, like zero, of 67 phone calls over a couple months, of a 12-minute phone call that morning. The next morning. Her very specific recollection, that to me sounds like people got together and decided what the story was, or not necessarily made up the story, but told each other the story. That there was some sort of collaboration where they got together and said, "This is what happened. You remember, I remember, we remember the same thing. And here are the timestamps." Because 12:10 and 12:10, it's terrible. It looks bad, and then right on the heels of that, to have no recollection, just be like, beats me, no clue. Wow, my phone, her, Proctor, 12 minutes, 27 minutes, me, 200 steps. I don't want to be the one wearing the tinfoil hat here. And I'm trying in my head to rationalize and put the pieces together and say, how can it be so, right? Sorry, I'm listening to see if they come back and the judge says anything after the sidebar. If they do, we'll take it. But how can it be so, right? How can we have all the things which we know we have in front of us, and how can it fit together, and what can be true and what isn't? Is it possible that Karen Reed hit him? Possible. I haven't seen any evidence to that fact. From what I hear, just from the questions we've heard about the traumatic injuries that he received on like the back of his head as well. So arm and back of the head. I don't know how you can get your elbow up to where the back of your head is and have injuries there and not other places on your body when being hit by a car. Somebody needs to do a mock-up of this and explain how it works. It sounds more like getting hit by a snowplow, if that was a possibility. And maybe that's also why his body got thrown off the street. I don't know. Did the plow come down earlier? And did he fall down just drunk in the road and get hit? I don't know. Braxton, you finally caught up. I think we're done for the day. Let me go ahead and shut this down. We are done. Judge has no more to say. We're done early, which is good because now we get to be on BK watch. We're going to start day 10 today. We're not. We're going to start that tomorrow. It's a short day for everyone else as well. So it's been, I'm sorry. And even worse, we're not going to catch up next week when they have only 2 days of court next week. So we've got to think of something you want to do together. Maybe I was thinking charades. Maybe we can play like apples to apples or something on court. We can do a little court hopping for sure. I'm thinking plow. Is more consistent with the evidence. DSN, by the way, thank you for gifting the membership. I appreciate that. I think I missed it when it came in. Let's see. Let's see if Angela's on the phone.
Call from Angela.
Angela, you're breaking up again. How are you doing?
Yeah, hopefully. I'm doing good. How are you? Well, this is the second time I'm calling in today.
It's really bad.
It's really, really bad. Now that I actually have a text in front of me, sorry for not being high earlier today.
We're getting little bits, but the signal is so bad. Have you tried paying your phone bill? I'm just kidding.
Yes. Hear me now?
It cuts out like every second word is cutting out.
I'll try again. I'll read my phone and call again.
Okay. See ya. Bye. All right. That's what we got right there, Vicky. Vicky was transcribing everything. Why would you sell your dog and your home right after? We haven't even got to that part yet. I think it's the solar flares. No worries. Just double up on your words. Say every word twice, and then we'd get it. Thinking plow, since the distance he got thrown, then the 45 pieces of taillight came in from where the police took it off and broke it themselves. Then all of a sudden they have taillight pieces. So could it be that the cover-up was to cover up something where it looked bad, but nothing actually happened there? I guess that's what I'm getting at. Could it be that the police or members of the police, not everybody, but members of the police attempted a cover-up to make it look like it wasn't the Alberts because it looked bad when there's a body on your front lawn, when the Alberts were never involved? Sounds silly to me. Honestly, the idea that we've got a whole bunch of people in on this cover-up, I'm not there. I cannot get there. I think it would be more likely that a couple people might be in on something, like some evidence might have been falsified to make it look a certain way, but that most people just are clueless or believe the narrative. Lenova, thank you once again for the super sticker. Thought they said he did get rid of the dog. He did, and they sold the house, and after completely redoing the basement and everything else. They may have covered up the shoddy investigation and then the fact that he was in the Albert's yard. Okay, we're going to try one more time, Angela, and if it's bad, we're going to say...
Call from Angela.
So far, so good. Angela, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, that's good. Well, the reason why I'm calling is because the Reds, there's actually, I remember that there is a picture of, I don't know who was on the stand, but there is a picture of the Red Solo Cups beside the car,
yes.
And you can clearly see Karen's car, and you can clearly see there was the taillight was intact, no missing taillight pieces. A piece, let alone 45 pieces.
I haven't got
full taillight.
I haven't got into the taillight yet. I think there's sections. We know that the police said they broke part of the taillight when they were taking it out. I'm not sure if that was the housing or the taillight itself. But 45 pieces of a taillight is the taillight smashed. Just try to break plastic, right? We did this with Ada Brown on her channel the other day. Try to break some plastic like that. Go down to the junkyard and get yourself a taillight, right? And hit it with the hammer. And you know what it will not do? It will not do the same thing that your windshield will do or your driver's side window will do if you break that. It's not going to just, pieces everywhere. It's going to crack, maybe. It's going to snap, maybe.
Yeah.
45 pieces. Maybe I need to go to a rent yard and just get a Lexus taillight. Should we do that? Should this be the next investment that the channel does? We're going to go buy Lexus taillights and smash them.
I think someone else already tried it, but it's really expensive taillight. So maybe get something that is close to a Lexus taillight,
or maybe
like
we just borrow one.
SUV. Yeah.
Who do you know that has a taillight? I'm not suggesting anybody do anything illegal. But yeah, 45 pieces. I think either you're smashing something like tons of pressure, together, 45 pieces, or it's impossible. You can't get.
It's impossible.
You can't get a single injury with no damage anywhere else on the car. And the 45 pieces, the amount of pressure that would have to be put right there would be a ton. And guess what? Your head bone's connected to your neck bone. Your neck bone's connected to your shoulder bones. Your body's all connected, and you can't just dive headfirst at the car and get hit in the head in some weird way, wherever it was, and not have the injuries anywhere else. And then have still all that damage from the taillight.
And just to the taillight, and don't forget that after whatever days, I think 3 days, when the forensic took possession of the car and they did the whole shebang, aka took you know what I mean, testing and so on, and they found microscopic or whatever pieces of the taillight on the bumper after the car drove 60 miles. 40 miles and then 30 miles on the flatbed or whatever towed the car in the snowstorm. Don't forget.
Yep.
And it somehow, so let's say 60 to 70 miles it drove back and forth, and in the snowstorm it survived 60 miles of drive. It's just impossible.
What kind of car was it? I need this for my research. Lexus, was it a RX 350? Does anybody know?
I think it's that. I have a picture. You know what? The other week I was I bought my neighbor's dog, and we were going. There is a horse place near where I live, and we were going up there. It's a beautiful, but never mind to that. It's just guess what car I saw? A Karen's car. Karen's car. It was just a gray one.
I need the model.
Not.
If somebody can do a little research and tell me what the model is, I'm on the website where I can buy replacement headlights, taillights. It might be in the budget.
I can find. I can
it's
find
definitely
a
not a
picture. I took a
Tiguan.
picture of the car. I took a picture of the car with the license plate, so I can get.
Greener says
Lexus
Lexus GX 550. Well, that's a nice one. Man, she's got taste. GX 550 and the year, Greeners.
I think 2016, maybe. Hold on a second.
Let's change the vehicle. What's the year? 20. You said 2016?
Yeah, I don't know. Hold on a second. I have
it's a 570.
Picture up. Hold on.
WeatherWatch says now that it's a Lexus LX 570. Guys, I'm going to have to buy a lot of taillights.
No, the one, this might not be the car because it says NX 450 and it's 2022. But this might be just a newer model. Yeah.
Okay.
It's 550. Yeah.
So help me out here. I need all in one. Everyone's just guessing models. Okay, Greener says yes. LX 570, 3GC 684. Oh, that's the license plate. Greeners, what year was that? LX 570. LX 570. If I do a 2019, browse the parts. Let's get ourselves a rear tail light. Windows components, truck tailgates, tailgate components, headlights.
Don't you guys have a registration you can look up and see what car it is and
yeah, if you're a cop,
maybe even who owns it?
If you're a cop.
Well, wow, and I thought Sweden has some of the not so good privacy laws because I don't like I said, I have the license plate and I looked up the license plate and I see the model and who is the owner of the car.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
The
buy
one
a
that I
taillight.
have at least.
Carparts.com did not have it.
Okay.
Let's see. It's going to be right taillight, right? The right one. $162 for a taillight. Okay, hang on. 2021. It's a Model T Ford. 2021
What was
Lexus.
the LX? Is it LX? Because I can't find
I think it's an LX 570, and if it's a 2021, Greeners, thanks for the link. I'll check that here in just a second. Thomas has got an eBay connection.
No.
It's about 160 for a taillight.
Yeah.
It was a right. Okay, I'm seeing. Let's see, I've got a little cheaper on eBay. I've got a 156. This fits anything from a 2016 to a 2021 model. So it looks like the taillight didn't change much during that time. Let's see if I've got a used one so I don't have to pay new prices. See if Amazon has one. Doubt they do, but
On the other hand, you know what I do hope that defense did with their experts, that they did look at the taillight pieces that were found and looked under the microscope, because whatever tool that was used to break the taillight, it left the marks on the taillight, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
And also, okay, put the tail like that because that's not in the evidence yet. But the red solo cuffs, seriously? I mean, seriously? And the Stop and Shop bag? I mean, I am not.
Don't stop there. You've
Nor
got a leaf blower as well. You haven't talked about. So.
Yeah, a leaf blower. I mean, leaf blower in a blizzard, in a freezing temperatures. That the only thing that you can put throw to the side with a leaf blower is the recent snow that just fell down, because all other stuff would be frozen by then, because the whole night was like freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
You know? But seriously, I don't know if you know this, but this case has already made its way to law schools.
Really?
I don't know if you heard this, because
Is it in meme form, or is it in the books? I mean, what are they doing?
in the books as to how to not be a lawyer.
Okay. I think we need to buy.
Because
Hang on. We need to buy our taillight quickly because everyone else is snapping them up.
And please do us a favor and do a video when you try to break it. Please, I beg you. Do a live or something. Please.
I'm just trying to think. What would I use? Let's think through the best possible, because I can only get one tail light, right? I've got one shot at this, right?
I mean, I asked my brother. He likes to break stuff. He's at that age, so he was like, I don't know, maybe something along the lines wrong, maybe like a cement block, something of that,
Well, we've got to sort of simulate what would happen with a person, and so I know.
Yeah.
Ballistic gel is not going to be the same, right? So throwing a block of ballistic gel. What was the speed? It's got to be 25 miles an hour impact. There are lots of moving parts to this to get this right. But the head is a little different than the body ballistic gel. So
I tried to find online some kind of simulator where I can put in the car and the body. Unfortunately, all that I can find is sketch stuff that you can sketch, but the simulators are either you need to pay or you need to be a law enforcement in order to access it, or some company.
I could head down to the Piggly Wiggly and see if we could get, because we do whole hog barbecue here in my town. We actually invented whole hog barbecue. I kid you not. That's our claim to fame. We cook the whole pig, so you can buy whole pigs. I imagine taillight on the ground, pig up on the ladder, a drop test, and then of course the pig would be donated to barbecue as well. But so we won't want anything to go to waste.
Which reminds me, speaking of speed and power and so on, I started talking to a friend of mine who loves cars and everything that has to do with cars, and I hooked him up to this case, of course. Mm-hmm. He also loves true crime. And he told me about a very interesting research that was done, how fast the car has to go in hit and run in order for you as a pedestrian to be killed.
That's like a fun simulator.
Guess what? Which
how fast?
Based on what Commonwealth is claiming, my guess is that they read that paper. Because guess what? How high speed you have to drive in order to hit a pedestrian and kill him?
25 miles an hour.
25. What?
25?
Yep, 25, 26 miles an hour.
And she managed to do that in reverse, right? Because it's the back of the car.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think of it as like until my friend told me and then sent me the link. I mean, it's a little suspicious, how they came up with that number.
Well, the Lexus should have like a black box inside that I'm sure they've pulled, and I'm sure we're going to see the data eventually. But we should be able to know exactly where her car was and if it drove 25 miles an hour and then stopped, right? Should we have like we should have like a printout of everything it did, GPS, everything. Well, a Lexus is a nice vehicle. It's got a lot of computers in there.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, but it's like it's impossible for a car. Don't forget that it was snowing, freezing temperatures at least, when allegedly shit hit him. So it was some kind of ice on the ground, my guess would be, because there was previous snow or somewhat snow. And it was uphill or somewhat uphill. So she were going to go in those conditions back in reverse uphill 25, 26 miles per hour. And the distance was how many feet? Nah. I don't see anyone buying that story. On the jury, I mean.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. Anyone who knows how to drive a car would guess that.
Let's see. What features, what package did she have? Pre-collision with pedestrian detection, maybe? Let's see. I think these cars are one of the safest cars out there. It's available on the LX.
What?
Vehicle detection. All right. Well, we've got some homework to think this one through.
Yeah, I'm going to send you the link that a friend of mine sent me about the impact, how fast the car has to go. So you can read if you want. I just sent you. So, yeah. But I think and regarding before I called you, was just talking about what I think is that I have a theory which kind of explains, and that is that, and a recently published paper kind of supports it. I think that John knew about potential what's the name? Not cover, but corruption within Canton PD/BP Boston PD, and wanted to come forward. And I see that as a potential also motive to kill him. So
now it goes from accident to premeditated.
And I don't think she killed him, but it explains that why they also framed her, because she may have been his backup, if something was to happen to him.
I don't know. Let me handle this one piece at a time. There's just so much to this that I just can't wrap my head around it. I think we've got to figure out about the taillights and how we can end up with 45 pieces and get the injuries. I mean, the injuries to John, I don't know how they're going to match those two up.
I don't either. I asked a friend of mine who is she is registered nurse in an ER here in Sweden, and I showed her pictures, and she said that no way that's a car. She has no knowledge of the case. So I just asked her what she thinks, and she said that that's no way. I asked her if that's the injuries you can sustain from being hit by a car, and she said no way.
Here's another option.
No way.
Here's another option. There's a rental Lexus. This exact model of car, LX570 from 2021, is available to rent from a person I would get the full insurance package. I'm not even sure if that's legal, but you could recreate a situation.
I mean, there is also another option. Any good programmers in the chat that can maybe help us with, I don't know, recreating this thing?
Yeah.
Virtually, not because, you know.
I'm not trying to give anyone any ideas. I'm just saying that if somebody really wanted to do this, there are options out there. Did you make
But you know, speaking of that, you know what? I mean, I have a hard. I can't wait for cross on whoever is going to show the accident reconstruction, because that person is gonna. I mean, he's gonna lose credibility as a witness.
It's going to be like
you know.
What was it? The lady in Letitia's? Was it Letitia's? The expert witness in that one? I forget. Which case was it? That lady was just absolutely crazy. But
Dr. Lewis, yeah, from the death trial. Probably the better Greener said it.
All right. Here's what we're going to do. Food has been delivered. Look, I've got a chicken pot pie and a fork.
Sorry.
So I'm ready to eat.
For taking so much. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. Have a nice meal.
Thank you.
And thank you. And let's hope that we will have answers to a lot of our questions soon.
Hope so. Thank you so much. Good talking to you as always. We'll see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. The all-you-can-eat shrimp has worn off. Yes, that was last night. We did go out for our anniversary. It was wonderful. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Let's put our car smashing plans on hold. Because first of all, I need whatever we do to be legal. And so far, my ideas have mostly been not legal. And since we do this thing on YouTube where it lives forever, we need to have a different plan. Possibly eBay. I'm looking at eBay, $156.99. I could get a taillight. I was thinking about a watermelon and a taillight. Can you get a watermelon that simulates about the same size as somebody's head? Although the hardness. What do you like? Dip it in enamel? How do you simulate the hardness of someone's head with a watermelon? Maybe if we set the taillight on a fixed location, like clamped it down, so instead of the taillight moving, the watermelon was moving instead. Can you stop saying we and our plan? Greeners, you're trying to distance yourself. Membership canceled. As long as we delete our Google history, we're fine. That's what they think, but no. So
There's a lawsuit.
Interesting. Okay. A honey melon is a better replica. Bowling ball. Bowling ball is pretty hard. We'd need a volunteer, but seeing what happened to John, though, there'd be a hefty waiver. If I can do this correctly, it will simulate everything about the scene. Does anyone know where I can find all the specific data of the case? Oh, yeah. All right, let's do lunch. All right, let's do that. When we come back, we're going to start keeping our ears to the ground for the BK case. We're done for the day with this channel. Not with this channel. I'm reading channel right there. We're done for the day with this case, but we will pick up possibly some BK stuff. We've got a little things that might have happened in Corey Richens' trial. We're trying to get a little more information on. I think she's got a hearing tomorrow. Corey Richens. We'd love to get a date on that one. The head weighs 40 pounds? 40? That's got to be too high. It's got to be too high. All right. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again after lunch. Give us an hour, maybe 1:30, 45 minutes. How can I weigh my head? You just lay on the scale like you're taking a nap, but the scale's your pillow, and then take a selfie. Take a selfie of the pictures. 11 pounds. That's a little better. It's a little better. My neck would be like ripped if I had a 40-pound head. All right, 1:30, be back then. We're going to do it. All right, wish us luck. Wish us luck. I'm going to keep searching on eBay for taillights for vehicles that I don't own. So we might go that route. All right, you guys, be kind to each other. We'll see you after lunch. Have a good one. Bye.